Hey bottom pushers, my name is Nick and welcome back to the life and suffering of Sir Brante. So we've been making good progress on the old faith route. I am now an Inquisitor. I had a very brief stint as a priest. I performed one sacrament and obviously did such a good job that they thought, oh wow, you need to be in the Inquisition. So Jen has become my partner in Inquisition and we are heading back to Anazot and heading into peacetime. This is all going to be completely new because last time we went into peacetime, all the other times we've gone into peacetime, it's been under the influence of Philippe El Ferro and his spy network. Where now, we don't even know who that is. So, good. You and Jen are returning to Anazot together. You listen to the spinning wheels of the carriage as it makes its way along the road. You see the land of Magra through the window, empty, desiccated by ancient magic. You're home. You're no longer the boy who took this road to the capital 4 years ago. You're coming back a priest. Would your family ever have imagined that this would be the lot with which you would return? You will begin your service with the Inquisition in your home province. You will be reunited with your family soon. Oh yes, completely new outcomes. Woohoo! Okay, so we have Shadow of the Will. You follow Ulrich on the path of the Will until the very end. You convict Patriarch Cassius in a holy tribunal. Your aid for the new believers forced Patriarch Cassius from his sacred post. Ulrich bends the city to his will. The new believer zealots exact vigilante justice against the enemies of their doctrine. Ooh. Ooh. Okay, I'm not sure which one's going to be the best. Which is Old Faith? I'm guessing it's this. I'm guessing it's Shadow of the Will. Oh, okay. So I can't die anymore if I want that one. And Father Ulrich needs to be Master. And Inquisition power needs to be 10. So I think this is probably the one I'm going for. Outcomes of the Brante family. Oh, okay, I don't know if I'm gonna... I mean, this doesn't really impact me personally because I can't receive any title regardless because I have given myself to the twins completely. So we'll kind of go whatever happens with that one. Obviously, it would be nice if I could do this and save Mother again, but I'm not sure. There we go. Occupation. Evidence against Cassius, rights to defend the faith. No. The La-Tari ritual. You participate in the enigmatic ritual of a long-dead race. Interesting. Collapse of the Inquisition. The Inquisition loses authority and respect in the province. The order is now too weak to make Cassius face tribunal. The new faith persecuted. The new faith faces ruthless persecution throughout Magra, with no hope for reconciliation between the two doctrines. Oh, I don't know which of them is good. I'm thinking Inquisition power needs to be a focal point. I'm uncertain, but that's the most logical conclusion I can come to. Because we're not doing this for a happy joy ending, we're doing this for Old Faith coming through and being the only faith. That's what I need to keep in mind. Spiritual guidance. The air in the carriage is stuffy despite the blinds that shut out the sun. It'll take time to get used to the heat again. The scorching days are followed by freezing nights. Such is the desert in wintertime. Jen has changed drastically since her months away. You struggle to begin a conversation with her. In the end, she's the first to speak. It's time I told you of our mission in Anazot, Brother Niklaus. Then why has the Inquisition decided to assign it 2 recent seminary graduates? The Inquisition considers me sufficiently prepared for the mission, and I vouched for you. The mission that awaits us will take a long time to complete. I need somebody reliable by my side. Myra has grown restless of late. The teachings of Fotis have taken root here. The local priests reject their duty. They tell their congregations to seek their lots within themselves. They claim the teachings of Saint Isatius are lies. Don't they see they're marching straight to the foot of the pillar and dragging their flock along with them? Heathens! But that's not all. The church received an anonymous letter denouncing Cassius, the Patriarch of Magra, for enabling all manner of sects and heresies in the province and blaspheming against the gods. This report must be investigated, and should we find proof of his guilt, we're to remove Cassius from his post and defrock him. Needless to say, this will not be easy. Right now, the Margaret Inquisition is weak, respected neither by the nobles nor the clergy. Until they recognise our authority, they will be unlikely to obey us. Cassius has been Patriarch since Photis' demise 5 years ago. He was elected unanimously at the Sacred Conclave of Magra. He's beloved by his flock and respected by the clergy. We have therefore been strongly advised to investigate this matter in secret. We must restore the authority of the Inquisition. Then, if Cassius is indeed guilty, we must find proof. Then, and only then, may we accuse him openly. The tribunal hearing against Patriarch Unius Diamond was a disgrace. What happened there must not be repeated in Magra. The Church has entrusted Inquisitor Ulrich with this case. We're expected to assist in his investigation however we can, and help protect Anazot against heresy. But I think we should be wary of him. Father Ulrich is a ruthless man and a zealous Inquisitor, overzealous at times. They say he's burned entire villages to the ground for the sake of the true faith. We will do our utmost to restore the authority of the Inquisition, but I fear Father Ulrich may be inclined to abuse his authority. Please, for our sake, be discreet around him. Either way, our mission will not be simple, but we will restore order in Magra. Let us eradicate every seed of heresy here and uproot the weeds of this new faith. The city that houses the Silver Tree must remain a symbol of faith. Can I count on your support, Niklaus? I mean, yes, because the old faith is the only faith, and death to anyone who disagrees. Okay, so now we've had that little spiel, I'm thinking that Cassius faces the tribunal is the best option. Which means Inquisition power needs to be between 7 and 9, and I need to get evidence against Cassius. So right, I'm going to write this down. Okay, and to get the evidence against Cassius, I literally just says gather evidence, so helpful. Cheers. I obviously support Jen as my Inquisitor buddy. You assure Jen that she has your full support. You are entirely on her side. Heresy will be dealt with. The Inquisition will grow strong. The truth about Patriarch Cassius will be revealed. I'm glad to hear that, Niklaus. The city walls of Anazot finally appear on the horizon. Your service to the Inquisition promises to be difficult, but right now, you're going home. Oh, family, I'm home. God bless you. God's bless you. Sorry. Homecoming. Okay. So there's gonna be moments like this which are the same. So homecoming, I've come home and seen everybody. It's the first time I've been home in years. Whoop. I tell a lie. There are slight differences, so it looks like we're just reading this as if it was brand new. So Nathan's popped out and he's all grown and dishevelled. You're finally back, Niklaus. Home just hasn't been the same without you. And look, you're wearing a cassock. A true priest. I'll never be one, unfortunately. I didn't get into the seminary. He stares at the ground guiltily. You show him the prayer book you bought for him at the Great Temple with the twins back in the capital. May the light of the faith shine in your eyes forevermore, brother. Nathan clutches the little prayer book and nods with gratitude. Mother walks out the sitting room. Nathan runs to her, and she leans on his arm as he leads her to you. Mother's back is bent. She's grown pale, and a thin web of wrinkles cover her face. She can barely stand unassisted. These are the troubling, telltale signs of the illness your brother and sister mentioned in their letters from home. Slowly, she embraces you. You press your face into her shoulder, breathing in the nearly forgotten, dearly beloved smell. Mother holds your shoulders and studies you for a long time. You've been away so long, my son, but it was all for a good reason. I am so very proud you chose to follow the priestly lot. Never in my wildest dreams did I think my own son would bring the twins' teachings to the world and save other men's souls. To think I held you in these arms not so long ago. Mother's arms are thinner now. They feel nearly weightless. Gloria walks up next. She's dressed in men's clothing, including culottes, a frock coat, and a necktie with a massive pin. She's almost unrecognisable in her new attire. There are dark circles under her eyes, as though from lack of sleep or frequent tears. Her first words to you are dripping with sarcasm. Well, hello there. My brother the priest. Can't say I expected that. You'll be the one watching over our souls now, I suppose. You offer a composed response. You'll always be ready to help Gloria if she finds herself in need of spiritual guidance. But you're not just a priest, you're also her brother. Gloria breaks into an involuntary smile. She finally lets her feelings show and embraces you. Loud footsteps echo down the stairs. Stefan appears. Your elder brother has grown taller and more broad-shouldered. You notice how harsh his features have become. He looks even more like grandfather now. Stefan greets you politely with a solemn nod. Greetings, brother. It's a shame you returned with a cassock rather than a sword, but at least you weren't left a commoner like our youngest brother. You may not have earned a noble lot, but your cause is important to the Empire. The Brante family welcomes you. As he said these words, you hear the door to Father's office open. Father looks older, his back is hunched and he squints. There are deep lines around his mouth and silver threads in his dark hair and mustache. He stops a few steps away and examines you from head to toe. You meet his gaze. When I sent you off to the capital, I didn't expect you to return like this, but you have chosen your own path. I am saddened that you won't follow in my footsteps, but such is the will of the twins. I accept your decision. With a bit of hesitation, Father comes closer and pats you on the back. Well then, time for dinner. Your mother's prepared a veritable feast for you. For the first time in years, the entire family is together. You can finally spend some time with another member of your family today. So I'm going to do what I did before, and I'm going to have a little chat with Nathan, just because that gives me a boost with Nathan. I'm already maximum with Mother, and Gloria and Stefan, they both have negative effects on each other, and neither of them are really that high at the moment. So we'll chat with Nathan. I'll have a little skim through to see if anything's different, but it probably isn't. Yeah, so that was the same as before. So Nathan's just like relaying his failings and his concern for Mother. Sweet Nathan. The Sacred Conclave. Spring has come. The nightly chill of the desert loses its bite. The daily heat dissipates in gentle rains. At the local Inquisition ward, you're greeted only by dust, dirt, and silence. The building is completely abandoned. It takes both of you several weeks just to make it presentable again. Father Ulrich is yet to arrive. You and Jen have kept your arrival a secret. You can't wait any longer. Today's the day when a sacred conclave must assemble in every province of the Empire. You'll have to make your presence known to the brothers and sisters of the clergy and announce your mission to purge heresy and apostasy. During a sacred conclave, each province elects a patriarch to represent the faith for the next 8 years. In the old days, every man and woman of the flock had to attend the conclave, but that tradition is long gone. Now only the clergy have a say. Conclave Day is a sacred day indeed. On this day, the twins themselves descend and reside within the temples of the Empire. They bear witness to the chosen patriarchs of each province, the holiest among equals, the men who will speak to the gods themselves on behalf of their flock. Cassius assumed the patriarchate after the tragic death of Patriarch Photis and has not been presented to the twins yet. Nevertheless, there is no doubt Cassius will be elected by the clergy of Margara once again. The conclave is held at the temple by the Silver Tree. The last time you went there, you were just a little boy. You were struck by the tree even then, but now you gaze at it as though you were an old friend. As an Inquisitor, you no longer need to touch the tree to feel the life beating within it. The square by the Silver Tree is rarely crowded, but today it is packed. All 3 lots are represented here in ample numbers. The noble repose in soft chairs in the shade of the tents, the clergy file into the temple one by one, the common folk swarm the square, pushing and shoving for a better view. Woo! You hear cries of joy, a hum of approval, and applause. The common people do indeed favour Cassius. You and Jen have to push through the crowd to reach the temple doors. Not even a turnout crowd's this big. I thought we'd be trampled for sure. Before entering the temple, you place your hand on the trunk of the tree. It's remarkably warm. At least one thing is still the same. There are over 100 people in the temple. All the clergy of Margara are gathered here, from the abbots of the principal Margaran temples to travelling preachers. Most wear the black robes of the old faith. In the far corner of the hall, however, you see several priests of the new faith, few in number and dressed in white. They keep to the side. You and Jen sit in the front row. The others eye you with curiosity and suspicion. You catch your names among the whispers that fill the temple. It seems your arrival was a secret to no one. There's so much fear in them, so much hatred. Do you think they're hiding something? Or has someone poisoned their minds against our order? The cheering of the crowds drowns out Jen's words. Patriarch Cassius is approaching, blessing the people around him as he crosses the square. The Patriarch enters the temple. The doors are locked behind him. The clamour grows quiet. Cassius has a pleasant look about him. A sturdy, middle-aged man, he greets people with a soft, peaceful smile. Those gathered at the temple rise from the pews to greet the Patriarch. The priests in white cassocks are the last to rise. One of them, a priest of considerable age, catches your attention. You're struck by his clean-shaven face, and the uncannily sharp look in his eye. The trim of his cassock is embroidered with gold, and his hands rest upon a long staff to help him stand. That's Father Lennart. He's been the abbot of this temple for over 20 years. I remember him as a wise and kindly man, but my sorrow for him knows no measure now. Photis's teachings have clouded his mind. The Patriarch greets the audience with a dignified bow, and everyone takes their seats. Cassius slowly ascends the stairs to the altar of the twins and kneels before their images. The words of his prayer echo throughout the temple. O heavenly lords, O givers of life, the younger, defender of the world, judge and counselor, the elder, the spirit of truth and love, filling everything with his presence. We humbly abide by your law, by the three lots of Isatius. May the righteous achieve eternal bliss, and may the sinners suffer retribution without mercy. In your sight, I hereby relinquish my authority as Patriarch. May you allow your children to elect him who shall take my place. The air feels heavy, as though it's pressing down on you. The priests remain motionless, holding their breath. An incredible, all-consuming silence falls upon the room. In this silence, you hear the faint patter of footsteps across the temple. The moment slowly passes. The illusion fades. The air becomes light again. A staff taps against the tiles. The leader of the new faith approaches Cassius. We have seen their sign. The twins are with us now. I, Father Lennart, abbot of the Temple of the Silver Tree, declare the Sacred Conclave open. Father Cassius, would you please join the rest? With a smile, Cassius does so. And so the Conclave of Margra must elect a Patriarch to speak to the twins on behalf of our faith for the next 8 years to come. Speak the names of those who are worthy. Several dozen voices answer his call, all at once. Cassius! Cassius! Father Cassius! No other candidate is mentioned. Father Lennart rubs the bridge of his nose before he continues. So, you have spoken the name of Father Cassius. I hear no other. Then let us begin the ceremony. The acolytes give every priest 2 stones, one black and one white. An enormous bowl is brought to stand before the altar of the twins. Once the stones have filled the bowl, Father Lennart begins to count them, dividing them into 2 piles on either side of the altar for all to see. I count 1 black stone for each new believer here. Does that mean that all the others trust him without reservation? Then let the will of the Sacred Conclave be done beneath the watchful eye of the twins. Father Cassius shall be our Patriarch. He shall be our voice before the twins, and our mentor in this earthly realm. Cassius steps before the altar, the soft smile still on his face. Before the image of the twins, I accept my burden as Patriarch of Margra. May the wisdom of the younger and the power of the elder grant me strength in this service. The priests rise from the pews once again to cheer from the new Patriarch. Father Lennart raises a hand, calling for silence. Brothers and sisters, this conclave is concluded, but before we exit this temple to announce the name of the new Patriarch to the people, we must first hear out the Inquisitors who have come to our province. They will proclaim their mission so that each priest may relay their words to his or her parish. You and Jen take a step towards the altar, but an unexpected creaking sound startles those within the temple. The temple doors burst open. An armed squad marches into the hall. Champions of faith, warriors of the Order of the Inquisition. They're led by Inquisitor Ulrich. He holds an edict sealed with 3 seals. Who dares violate the laws of the Sacred Conclave? The doors of this temple must remain closed until a new Patriarch has been elected. The Patriarch's voice booms within the temple walls, as though the twins themselves share his indignation. And yet, Inquisitor Ulrich only raises his eyebrows in response. But Patriarch, the Conclave has concluded, has it not? I am Inquisitor Ulrich. I have been sent by the Order of the Inquisition to purge the last remnants of Charmalanadas's legacy from your province. Anyone insolent enough to stand in my way shall be branded an ally of the heretics and sentenced to true death. You exchange a quick glance with Jen. Purging the dark legacy of Charmalanadas from the province may be a trumped-up excuse, but it grants an Inquisitor incredible authority. Here in Magra, it's all too easy to tie anything and anyone to the rebellious Duke. There are 2 Inquisitors present here. I want their voices to be heard, not just by the members of the Conclave, but by the common people as well. The clergy of Magra often tends to ignore or utterly distort the will of the Inquisition. I am here to prevent this from happening. His words are met with indignant cries, but Father Ulrich remains still, his piercing gaze transfixing Cassius, waiting for an answer. The Patriarch is perplexed at first, but he slowly begins to regain his composure as he recognises the support he enjoys on the part of the clergy. You have no right to bring strife to the House of the Twins. Margaret never required the attention of the Inquisition when I was still its Patriarch, and nothing has changed. Our congregation's faith is stronger than ever. The confidence in his voice grows. The other priests support him with shouts of encouragement. Inquisitor Ulrich takes several steps towards Cassius. Those are powerful words, Patriarch. The Order of the Inquisition wants to determine whether or not they're true. If they are, we will leave Magra. I realise that Ulrich's voice keeps changing, and I'm really sorry about that. Ulrich gestures for you to come closer. But I have interrupted your speech, Inquisitors. Come, make our intentions known. I'm certain that people will give you their due attention now. Brother Nicolaus, kindly address those who have gathered here today from the temple steps. I'm going to accuse the Magrans. Address the gathering with words of accusation. Tut tut, people, tut tut. You stand on the steps of the temple. The crowd watches your face, distraught. Clergy stare at your back, wary and alert. It's as though the entire city has gathered to hear you speak. You proclaim that the Inquisition has come to Magra because this province is a boundless field in need of weeding. You're here to weed out all heresies and sects, all apostates, mages, and witches. Those whose faith is weak should expect no mercy from you. You will uproot their false doctrines and burn their sinful bodies at the stake. Don't boo me! You hear murmurs among the crowd. They expect you to hear the name of the new Patriarch, not a furious tirade. Patriarch Cassius steps out from behind you. He raises his arms to the sky to quell the growing discontent. My friends, this Inquisitor is young and zealous. His words may be harsh, but his intentions are laudable and virtuous. The Order wishes to weed out heresy, such is their calling, but we all know that we are free of sin. There are neither witches nor apostates among us. And now, good Inquisitors, excuse me while I announce the conclusion of the conclave to my flock. You breathe a sigh of relief only when you return to the Inquisition ward. Both Jen and Ulrich are clearly pleased with your speech. Now, I was told to act as your mentor. The first thing I will tell you is this. Always remain just as resolute and steadfast as you were today. We are the servants of the twins. We are their shield, their sword of punishment. Remember this, and cast away all fear and indecision. Inquisitor Brante, you reminded the sinners of Magra that retribution is inevitable. Every man and woman in this province should know that the Inquisition will pursue all heresy relentlessly. There is no punishment we cannot employ to crush the apostates. You two will handle the affairs of the Order while I investigate the Patriarch's schemes. Dismissed. Okay. The clergy re-elected Cassius as the Patriarch of Magra. Good for him. Cool. Okay, so this is going to be the same reception at the Brante residence. So we're going to have a party. So I'm going to do exactly what I did before. I'm going to purchase a family portrait from the artiste who's here. It has a little knock-on for wealth, but it's good for reputation and unity. So we'll do that. Okay, we're in poverty, so I need to kind of, stop spending money. Reputation, we're in a very good position, and unity, we're in a good position. So if I can keep the unity up to about 8, then we'll be good. I can save Mama a rock and a hard place. So this is Stefan and Gloria kind of constantly at each other's throats, and it's just getting to the boiling point of just becoming utterly ridiculous. So I'm going to do what I did before. So I'm going to appeal to Nathan because obviously he's got some skills deep in his brain hole. So we'll appeal to Nathan. He'll kind of talk to them both about their lots. It's going to knock down Gloria and Stefan, but it increases overall unity. So let's do that. Nathan loves me. He loves me. A gift for the family. The gift for the family is a box of jewels and rubies sent by Archduke Melanidas, who is trying to curry favour with different noble families, because we are very much supportive of the Overseer, not the Melanidas. This is a very kind of thinly veiled attempt to win our favour. So we have to decide what we're going to do with this box of trinkets. Well, okay, we're going to sell them. So it knocks down unity a bit, but does help with wealth, which is, I think, what I did in the last playthrough. Because it was literally all I could do. Get some moolah for the old family coffers. Cool, that's helped. That's helped with the wealth. That's worth the hit on unity. The La-Tari Society. Another winter has come to Magra. It's been almost a year since your return home. The Order has gradually been gaining power and influence in Anazot. The Inquisition ward is no longer as deserted as it once was. It's now filled with hushed voices of young Inquisitors and the heavy, echoing footfalls of the Champions of Faith. You and Jen are only assigned cases of low importance. Inquisitor Ulrich has taken it upon himself to investigate all cases related to Patriarch Cassius personally. Rarely, if ever, does Ulrich ask the two of you for assistance. But today, of all days, unexpectedly, he's requested a word with you. For the first time ever, you visit his cell. A spacious, yet ascetically furnished room. Ulrich is sitting on a plain-looking stool behind a humble desk when you enter. A lash hangs on the wall across from you. There is a disturbing air about it. Inquisitor Niklaus, there is a certain special case I'd like to entrust to you. There is a society that exists in Anazot. They study the culture of La-Tari, an ancient civilization that is long extinct. This is a society only for nobles. Most of its members are young and carefree. You come from a noble family. You know their manners and their etiquette, which is why you will be going there. By the will of the twins, the parents of one such carefree young nobleman have found a book in his possession. An odd book indeed. And they brought it here. He points at the book lying on the desk in front of him. The front of the metal-bound tome bears an engraving. The Vedas of the La-Tari people. A translation by Master Newman, Professor of the Imperial College. Upon his family's insistence, this noble, a young man by the name of Arnaud El Rancourt, paid us a visit. He claimed he had done nothing wrong and insisted that the Society's meetings are just like any other noble party. The only unusual thing about them is their theme. They read the poetry of an extinct civilization. They wear peculiar clothing. They hide their faces behind masks of gold, the same colour as the skin of the La-Tari. But he lets slip that a certain mystery is about to take place at their next gathering. His explanation was quite incomprehensible, but the young El Rancourt was very excited indeed. I convinced him to donate his invitation and mask to us. His codename is Ael. This society has not gained much popularity just yet, but they must have a patron of considerable influence. What if Patriarch Cassius is the one behind it? And this society is what we've been warned about. One way or another, we must arrest the heretics and make Cassius pay for allowing such a sect to exist. Your mission is to find out what they're up to. You must act quickly before they learn that we have El Rancourt. My squad of Champions of Faith will follow you. They will assist you in rounding up the apostates. You nod. At last, you finally have an important case to investigate. You recall the history books you read and studied long ago? The La-Tari were an old civilization, an ancient race of magic wielders who worshipped false gods and even enjoyed a brief alliance with the Empire. Around 200 years ago, the La-Tari disappeared from the face of the world, just like all the other lesser civilizations. Father Ulrich presents you with a gilded mask. The Society's meeting place is a noble mansion on the outskirts of Anazot. As you ride a carriage to the La-Tari Society, you lean back on the cushions and close your eyes. What do you know of this dead civilization? The most important thing you can remember is the La-Tari believed that true existence was the product of their own will. They thought the world around them was an illusion, a dream of their own making. You can't help but wince at the thought. The world was created by the will of the twins, not the will of mortal creatures. No wonder they rid the world of the La-Tari. Heathens! The carriage stops. You meet a small squad of champions of faith in an alley near the mansion. The squad is led by one Captain David Agaranim, a grizzled, muscled swordsman hailing from Arknea. His naturally grim face is made even more hideous by a number of battle scars. Good evening, Inquisitor Brante. We'll be right nearby. Give us a sign and we'll come to your aid. The mansion is large, but inconspicuous. You see noble carriages in the courtyard, many more than you'd expected. The gatekeepers bow and open the gate as soon as they see you. It seems the mask is enough to convince them you belong inside. You're ushered into a dressing room of sorts. A change of clothes already awaits you inside. It's unlike any garment you've ever seen. A square of flowing, sparkling cloth, with clasps and cords to keep it in place. The servants help you into this bizarre garb. You can't help but feel rather silly and uneasy dressed like this. But on your chest behind the costume rests the symbol of the twins, filling you with strength. The champions of faith await you nearby, ready to come to your aid. You can do this. Next, a large hall. The windows are covered in black cloth to keep out prying eyes. What seems at first to be a strange performance is playing out before your very eyes. You hear droning, unfamiliar music coming seemingly from nowhere. People fill the hall, dressed in flowing robes and delicate gilded masks, with narrow slits for eyes. The people stand and move unexpectedly close to one another, their hands on each other's shoulders as they talk. You approach one of the groups, hoping to overhear the subject of their conversation, and almost recoil when several arms reach out at once, attempting to grasp you tenderly by the shoulder. Steeling yourself, you put a hand on another person's forearm. You don't remember the last time you allowed yourself to touch another human being. The masked people seem friendly and genial. No one appears surprised by your insecurity. They continue their conversations as they accept you into their circle. Their conversations are also quite out of the ordinary. Names that could belong to legendary heroes of the La-Tari, or people here who have taken them as secret identities. You hear references to books you don't know, and the emotions these people felt while reading them. You listen, as though in a dream. You hear several voices singing in a distant corner of the room. There are no lyrics to the song. Each voice maintains its own note. Together, they form a tender, softly aching melody. The circle of people next to yours begins to move in a strange, slow dance. Their movements are unlike any dance you know. Their intertwined arms become an embrace, and that embrace then becomes intertwined arms yet again. You see golden faces moving all around, and you suddenly realise with perfect clarity that you're part of this dance too. You're one of them, one with them. You are more than you have ever been before. It's so alluring. It's true greatness. It's power. Limitless, endless power. Your back is perfectly straight now, your head held high, as though you have actually glimpsed another world through other eyes during the short time you've spent here. What other eyes? The eyes of a noble? The eyes of the La-Tari? The entire world is but the dream of the La-Tari. The symbol of the faith grows very warm beneath your clothing. It clears your mind and helps you break free from the illusion. You're here for a purpose. Without a sound, you mouth a prayer. The younger, defender of the world, aid me so I may serve thee further. Bring order back into my soul. The elder, the spirit of truth and love, aid me so I may bear thy word further. Fill my mind with purpose. You hear whispers of admiration all around you. An Arknean woman of below average height, clad in a long cloak and silver masks, descends the stairs into the hall. Oh, Lady Octavia has something truly special for tonight, says a voice next to you. Ah, Lady Octavia. And there she is, the secret patron of the La-Tari Society, Archduchess Octavia Melanidas, the Archduke's own daughter, heiress to the province of Magra. She smiles at everyone gathered there, her pitch-black eyes surveying the hall. The La-Tari were a great civilization with a wondrous and beautiful culture. Their disappearance from the world is an immense tragedy. Thank you all for coming. We've been united by a shared aspiration, to understand the culture of the La-Tari, We have learned so much already, but the mystery of the Circle of La-Tari remains inaccessible to us. Today, some of you shall aid me as we investigate this mystery. Please close your eyes and listen. The time is coming when what must be said, when the thought becomes the word, when the word becomes the world. Thus spake the La-Tari. And at this hour we have come together to form this circle, to make our thoughts reality. The La-Tari made us with this word, and with ourselves we shall make the world. Thus spake the La-Tari. Only that which is unchanging exists. Only that which is real is eternal. Motion is death. All that changes is an illusion that makes naught of aught. Thus spake the La-Tari. Only one thing in this world is unchanging, the La-Tari. The La-Tari is the world, for it is all that is real. Thus spake the La-Tari. As she speaks, Octavia moves elegantly through the crowded hall. Her words enchant and mesmerize. The people in the hall are swaying, seemingly entranced. Octavia stops and whispers something to several chosen members. They walk away, deeper into the mansion. Octavia approaches you as well. This close, you can smell her perfume. Come with us too, IL. The long hallway ends in a dark room. Octavia is the last to enter. Enter the circle, O chosen ones, and join hands. Direct your thoughts and feelings towards the circle center, towards me. Become one with me. Become one inside the circle. Become La-Tari. One of the people in the circle begins a droning melody. Others join in the song. Candles burn. There are strange, ritualistic symbols inscribed on the floor. You look at them closer. They depict colourful, intertwined dragons. A long, thin knife appears in Octavia's hands. The gods are merciful to us. The La-Tari, their chosen kin, they granted us the sacred laws. The one true faith resides therein. We, La-Tari, were thus the first creations of immortal gods. The moon sees all it comes across, yet none are equal to our cause. Death is our enemy no more, eternal foe of mortal life. Should it come closer than before, then neither run to it nor hide. The tempo increases, the song becoming disjointed, chaotic, yet somehow orderly and right. The sacred symbol under your costume feels so hot, it burns your flesh. Something's happening, and it's offensive in the eyes of the twins. So heed the laws of La-Tari, one older than the very sky. He who wakes shall prosper, he who sleeps shall die. As she speaks these final words, Octavia Melanidas discards her cloak. She's naked, her beautiful body completely uncovered. The song reaches its climax. Those standing in the circle sway from side to side. Their eyes roll back, they're lost in a trance. Octavia holds the knife to her wrist. She pierces the skin, then makes a long cut along her arm. Bluish blood begins to trickle down her fingers and onto the floor. Jesus. Octavia raises the knife above her other wrist. A moment more and the ritual will reach its culmination. Should you intervene? Arrest the prostates. Preach to them. Cover part of the circle. I'm intrigued by this, but obviously I'm not doing that yet. Okay. I'm thinking I might preach to them, because either way the Inquisition power and tolerance of faith is a +1 -1. But preach to them I get wealth, reputation, and Archduke Melanidas is grateful. I don't know if that is relevant, but I feel like that could probably be useful. The leader of the circle, Octavia Melanidas, must be guided back to her lot. You will help her return to the true faith along with her followers. Sorry. And it doesn't say that I die, so... You clutch at the thin, silver slab with a prayer to the elder etched into the metal. Twins, grant me the power of healing. You break free of the circle and step towards Octavia Melanidas, white light emanating from your hands. As the slab dissolves in a silvery glow, the wounds on Octavia's body flash white. Slowly, they begin to knit. The song stops and dies. The people are startled, as though awakened from a dream. They look at you in confusion. Astonished, Octavia is at a loss for words. IL, what the... You stand up straight, casting a glance around the room and the people in it. You feel no hatred for them, only compassion for these people lost in the dark. They must be guided back to the light. It is by the will of the twins they came into this world, and it is by their will they will remain here. There is no other truth but their love and their law. No false god shall hold sway over a true servant of the twins, and no false god shall hold sway over the true gods. And here it is, the proof of their will, their love, and their law. You point at Octavia Melanidas' arms, already fully healed, without so much as a scar. Behold, the twins have healed her wounds, and given her back her life, even after she turned her back on them. The La-Tari are gone from this world. Those who reject the twins have no place here. There should be no gods in this world, or the next, but the elder and the younger. The La-Tari are dead. Their culture is dead. Their false faith is dead. Those who imitate races that no longer exist will only follow them into oblivion. And those who reject the twins and their law and their love, you say, shall face eternal torment at the foot of the pillar. The nobles must live by the lots they were given, guided by their traditions of old and the blood tide of ancestry. Octavia Melanidas is an Archnean. Hers will always be a noble lot, you say, no matter what she tries. Silence. You hear only the crackling of candles. Octavia Melanidas lets the knife fall from her hands. She throws the cloak over her shoulders. Leave. All of you. This event is over. Inquisitor, would you mind if we talk in private? You hear desperation in her voice. You nod. The two of you are left alone. Octavia tries her best to maintain an air of composure, yet she is clearly dismayed. Tell me, Father, if the twins are law and love, then why is their law so harsh? Why does it have no place for kindness or warmth? I cannot bear to live my lot. The noble traditions leave me no freedom, no air to breathe. I'm suffering, but the twins' law deny me the very right to suffer. What should I do? You see a plea in the depths of Octavia's pitch-black eyes. She's lost her way. She has questions, and it falls upon you to answer them. Such is your lot. You tell her that the love of the twins is like our parents' love for us. They raise us and punish us, they warn us of mistakes and guide us to the right path, and they know much more than we do. Rebelling against the will and law of the twins is also like defying the will of our fathers and guidance of our mothers. You offer Octavia Melanidas your guidance. The two of you share a lengthy conversation about her father. You lend an ear to her laments and questions in return, and patiently witness her tears. You explain to her how she ought to behave. You tell her how to fulfill the duties of the noble lot. You describe her role and the purpose in this world, the nature of the blood tide and the Archnean people. It's a complex conversation. Octavia is intelligent and unhappy, and her family must bear the grim burden of the legacy of Shah Melanidas, which is why she was so tempted to go astray in search of the answers. But the answers you give her take root in her heart. She will be able to fulfill the duty of her lot now, and she will finally be able to sense the meaning of her real life. You beg Octavia to tell you the names of the nobles who attended the gathering. Everyone she tempted away from the faith must be returned to the fold. You need her help. She agrees. A while later, you list the names of the members of the La-Tari Society to Father Ulrich. You've done well, I must admit. You showed everyone the greatness of the twins, offered guidance to a lost soul. I'm confident Archduke Melanidas will have many questions for Patriarch Cassius now. As for the rest of them, I will guide them back to the faith myself. One by one, many noble dynasties in the city succumb to Ulrich's pressure and confess to act contrary to the faith. But the ritual was prevented. This is the only thing that saves them from the ultimate punishment for the crime of apostasy. The La-Tari Society quickly becomes the talk of the entire city. How could this have happened in Margaret, of all places? Many turn to Patriarch Cassius for answers. For the first time in a long while, he has none. Several days later, you receive a letter from none other than Archduke Melanidas. Inquisitor Nicklaus, I am truly grateful for what you've done. Your guidance has helped my daughter find path towards accepting herself, her place in this world, and her destiny. Your father must be very proud of you. The Brante family will win glory for ages to come. The Archduke is right. Father is overjoyed when he greets you at home. Through your actions, you have earned the Archduke's personal attention and gratitude. This marks the end of your first years back in Anazot. Hmm. Interesting. Whew. Cool, I've still got a ton of willpower as well, which is very nice. So Thomas has come back to town, and we bump into each other. He's having some troubles, and he's just having a bad time. But he wants to have dinner, but he said that it could be bad for you to be seen with me. But I mean, I'll have dinner with him. It's fine. Oh, helps my willpower. Knocks my reputation down a little bit, but it's okay. Cool. We're still at 5 for reputation, so it's not too bad. In the shadow of the tree. As the Archduke and Overseer fight for power in Magra, the common people bear the brunt of their conflict. Incensed speeches begin to fill the city. The temple by the White Tree seems to be the only place in the city free from the endless talk of taxation. Today, the worshippers in the temple are few, all of them poor people from nearby districts. Some thank the twins for the peace they've brought to the world, others beg for a sign above. One little boy is on his knees, praying for prosperity. He's yet to learn that it's an error to rely on the twins' aid even as you pray, for they are not your servants, but the rulers of this world. You approach the altar, bow your head, and whisper a prayer for unity in the Brante home. O Elder, the spirit of truth and love, I thank thee for my family. Aid them, and let them abide in peace and tolerance. Though our woes may hide the gift of thy love, we may never refuse thy bounty. To your sorrow, the strife in your family home has proven to be far worse than you'd expected from the letters. You never thought the quarrels between Gloria and Stefan would go this far. The temple gradually fills with people as noon approaches. Midday is the hour of the sermon. A priest steps up to the altar, leaning on a staff. The trim of his white cassock is embroidered with gold. He bears a book at his side entitled Lives of the Twins. It's rarely quoted even among religious scholars. Most of the faithful rely on the teachings of Isatius. You recognize this man from the Sacred Conclave, Abbot Leonard. Brothers and sisters, today I shall speak of the new faith, of its nature and its meaning. Many among you already know it in your hearts, but now I seek to find the words to help you understand it within your minds. For our hearts and minds alike forever seek the path of the twins. We have all known the doctrines of the old belief and the teachings of Isatius since childhood. Prophet Isatius, who lived more than 1,000 years ago, wrote that the twins granted us 3 lots to govern us. And 3 lots there are, one for each estate of the empire, nobles, commoners, and priests. And so, for more than 1,000 years, we have lived by these lots and by the teachings of Isatius, for it is said that, as you follow your lot, you're brought closer to the twins, and after the true death that awaits us at the end of the path, we shall be brought to the peak of the shining pillar. But now, I implore you to look at the blessed Archnean Empire. What was it like during the time of Isatius, and what is it like now? Nowadays, no commoner may live by the sweat of his brow alone. In his home and in his trade, even a commoner must lead and rule. And what of the nobles? Their lot commands them to fight. But where will they fight if the blessed Archnean Empire now extends from sea to shining sea, when all her enemies are gone? The lot of Isatius were once our path to the twins, but now they have become our shackles. Can you ever reach the peak if you walk a path that is impassable? The law that Isatius gave cannot say. The old belief has no more answers for us, only questions. I have been a priest for over 30 years, and every day I have considered this question and found no answers. That is, until Mentor Fotis appeared. Fotis said, "He who breaks beneath the burden of his lot shall be guilty of the worst sin of all, the sin of rejecting the twins. Is this how we are to reach the peak of the pillar? Is this what the twins want from us?" And Fotis said, "If the empire in which we live has changed over time, should not the faith change along with it? And the new faith says, do not confuse your worldly life and estate into which you were born with your spiritual life, where each of us may find the twins on his own, and so may every person find his own lot, his own path to the twins. If a noble must suffer in order to purify his heart and fill it with the love of the twins, then such is his path. And if a commoner enjoys the fruits of her labour, and thanks the twins for their gifts, then let that be her path to the top of the shining pillar. The priest's calling is to offer guidance so that each of us can find his way to the twins, to their law, will, and love, and thus to bliss in the hereafter. Many servants of the Church still persevere in their rejection of the new faith. They find it difficult to reject what they have long considered to be the unshakable foundation of all existence. They find it difficult to face the truth. Let us pray to the twins that the guiding light of the new faith will find them as well. Most people in the temple kneel and bend their heads in silent prayer. The abbot prays along with them. Some, however, remain on their feet. These people shake their heads with expressions of distrust and disapproval. The sermon ends. You feel it's time for you to leave. Then you notice the abbot motioning for you to stay. He walks up to you with a smile, as if seeing an old friend. He gestures for you to sit on a pew. Inquisitor Nicklaus, we have not been introduced yet. I am Father Lennart, but you probably know that by now. How do I know you? Why, it's no miracle. A good friend of mine, Augustine L. Bourne, told me about you. He was a friend of your family. Stefan's uncle. Sir L. Bourne is a long-standing follower of the new faith, and I have taken it upon myself to act as his counsellor in matters of the faith. That is certainly good to know. What does Abbot Leonard want from you? I am aware that the Inquisition has come to Margaret to investigate a report against Patriarch Cassius. I am aware of this because I was the one who wrote the report. You stare at the abbot in surprise. What could possibly have motivated him to do this? You see, the Patriarch and I have known each other for many years. We used to engage in debates quite often, on the nature of the twins, on the teachings of Isatius and Fotis, on the paths that serve to guide the people to the peak. For all those years, matters such as these were of great concern to Cassius. He used to remember the purpose of his service at all times. He used to truly care for the people. But now, something has changed him. As he is now, all Cassius desires is power. His sermons are filled with lies and pretense. He has gained the support of the old believers, and now he accuses us of apostasy and heresy against the twins. But in truth, he serves the twins no longer. Our opinions often differed, but my most recent conversation with Cassius left me terrified. I expected him to accuse the new faith once again of straying from the true path to the peak, but the Patriarch suddenly questioned the importance of guiding people to the twins at all. The Patriarch of Margaret, of all people, told me this, Nicklaus. The man who addresses the twins in the name of the entire congregation. The man who must be the embodiment of purity and virtue for his flock. I wrote my report and sent it to the Order immediately after we spoke. I'm glad to see you got here so quickly. But if you ever find the proof of my words, what will you do? What awaits Margaret if the sacred tribunal of the Inquisition condemns Cassius? You may have noticed the delicate situation in our province by now. Margaret is the birthplace of the new faith, and many worshippers have been eager to take the teachings of Fotis to heart. And yet the priests in Margaret remain deeply bound by the old traditions. Can you imagine the chasms of misunderstanding that now separate the clergy from their flock? And yet, should Patriarch Cassius be cast out of the faith, the Conclave will most likely elect another ardent old believer in his place. The gulf between the clergy and the fold, the old faith and the present day, it will only grow deeper. It is my opinion, however, there is another way out, which is why I must beg you for your aid. Heathen, you get nothing from me. Tell me, if you may, what is the foundation of every faith and belief? It's not books or rituals or temples, it's people. Our church has forgotten this, but it's the people who must choose the guide they will follow to the shining pillar. I know you came to Anazot to weed out heretics and apostates, but I'm begging you, please do not judge in haste. The fear of punishment paralyzes those who are on the way to the new faith. Please allow them to seek answers on their own. They might stumble along the way, but this is the price we must pay to blaze our own trail. And, when it's all said and done, the new faith will be our salvation, for Margaret, for the Empire, and for every person who lives within it. But help Father Lennart's, refuse Father Lennart's, or point out the flaws of the old faith. Point out the flaws and inconsistencies in Fotis' teachings to Father Lennart, and refuse to help him. Yes, that's what I'm going to do, because, stinky new faith is the worst. Father Lennart is clearly in error. The teachings of Fotis are a heresy that dooms its followers to torment at the foot of the pillar. It's the duty of the Inquisition to guide people away from the dangerous doctrine and back to the old faith, the true faith. The lots are part of the twins' design, you say. No matter how much the world might have changed, the twins commanded us to live by this law, for it is their will and their love. To dispute this would be the same as denying the twins themselves and condemning oneself to eternal agony at the foot of the pillar. Photis's doctrine has split the faith and clouded people's minds, you claim. This absolute freedom to choose one's own path is in fact no path at all. Without the unity afforded by a common path, how is the priest to guide his flock? Without one truth for all, how are we to know who is right and who is wrong? Without one law from the heavens, how are we to make our own laws here in the world? Photis's teachings will bring nothing but ruin to the souls of the people and the blessed Archnean Empire and the entire world. And so the Order of the Inquisition must uproot this misguided heresy and reunite the faith. Father Leonard shakes his head slowly. Oh, you shouldn't put all the blame for the schism on the new faith. Our world has changed, yet the laws we're trying to obey have remained the same. This is the reason for the schism. Patriarch Photis was only the first to see this. Our teachings may be imperfect, but we're seeking answers where the old faith abandoned the search long ago. The path to the truth is filled with mistakes. It brings me sorrow to find no understanding in your heart, but I will accept your words as they are, Inquisitor. Go forth, brother, and may the twins be ever by your side. They already are, you tell him. You leave the temple for the sunlit streets of Anazot. The sun shines in the sky, and the infinitely distant pillar gleams on the horizon. Ain't nobody questioning the old faith. Not on my watch, boyo. Ah, the call of the ancestors. Okay, so Gregor. Well, yes, Gregor. Basically, today's the day of the call of the ancestors. So we go down to the crypt and see the spirit of the ancestors. And obviously, being the only noble ancestor in our family, it's basically a one-on-one with Gregor. Stefan. He has, as Gregor has called forward the head of the family, Stefan's just sauntered up and stopped Father, or blocked off Father. So I'm going to obviously side with Father, which will impact my willpower a little bit, but I'm swimming in willpower, will help my unity. This is basically just getting in the way of Stefan and or getting in between them and telling Stefan to just stop this nonsense immediately. Stefan's now indifferent to me, which, you know, I'm not going to lose any sleep over. Cool, that's fine. It's all gravy, baby. The will and the law. The ward of the Vagrant Inquisition has little space for dungeons in which to detain and question suspects. Just a handful of underground cells with tiny windows and heavy doors. You and Jen are standing in one of them, facing a man accused of heresy. 2 days of questioning have yielded nothing. The man was distributing books containing a distorted version of teachings of Isatius. The teachings themselves were intact, but the books also included comments that openly criticised the foundations of the old faith. Kill him. Execution for heresy. To set up a clandestine print shop for such blasphemous books, one needs powerful connections and money. This could be your chance to track down a heretical sect of considerable power. The man is on a rack. Rope is wrapped tightly around his wrists, turning them a deep shade of blue. Jen has treated the prisoner with patience and mercy. She has forbidden the use of torture in an effort to prove to the man that his silence is pointless. You hear footsteps coming down the stairs. Inquisitor Ulrich enters the room. He's refrained from interfering in your investigation for 2 days, but it seems his patience is at an end. You and Jen welcome your mentor. With a curt nod, he walks past you and examines the man upon the rack. Slowly, he shakes his head. I see you are in need of my aid and guidance. Remove him from the rack and put him in a chair. You humbly do as he says, while Ulrich takes great care in selecting the proper tool for what's to come. When the man is seated, the Inquisitor steps closer. Oh god. Sharp steel flashes and the severed tip of the man's pinky falls on the floor. The man lets loose a blood-curdling scream. Father Ulrich severs the finger down to the knuckle. Well, where is the print shop? The man shrieks and curses at him. Father Ulrich walks around the chair. The prisoner's eyes bulge in terror. The Inquisitor removes the man's ear with a precise cut. The prisoner howls in pain, shivering, convulsing, Blood streams down his neck, forming a dark brown stain on his plain shirt. Jen is stone-faced as she watches it happen. Ulrich is utterly dispassionate, every bit as calm and calculating as before. This manner of corporal punishment is an everyday occurrence for him. The Inquisitor continues the torture, repeating the same question over and over again in the same tranquil voice. The prisoner will not stop convulsing, but he says nothing. 10 finger joints now lay scattered around the floor of the room. Streams of blood trickle down the stone slabs. Ulrich reaches for a hammer. Finger bones are brittle. There's a crack, then a scream, then sobbing. The knees are next. The prisoner will not stop screaming. Between the howling and the tears, his lips are unsealed at last. He begs for you to stop. He will tell you everything. The print shop is in Sulmina, a small mining town in eastern Magra. The prisoner tells you exactly where it's hidden. Jen writes it down. Father Ulrich walks over to a wash basin. He pours some water on his bloodstained hands and carefully wipes them dry. He glares at you and Jen. Never pity a heretic. They deserve neither compassion nor mercy. Sister Jen, finish him off. A lesser death is a fitting punishment for his crimes. Father Ulrich, forgive me for my impudence, but this man's fate must be determined by a tribunal. Sister, I have personally sentenced him to lesser death for his sins. The tribunal is a mere formality, a senseless waste of time, just like your attempts to convince him to speak. Forgive me, but I refuse. You and I belong to the same lot. You're not a noble. You cannot give me orders. You're far too arrogant for a girl barely out of the seminary. Father Ulrich's voice rings like hardened steel. Jen meets his gaze defiantly. The prisoner is sobbing quietly, still shackled to the chair. I don't know what to do, because I don't need to do either of these, so it's just whatever I want to fit into the narrative of me. So killing the prisoner, I mean, I'm pretty much being a zealot anyway, so that seems like the right thing to do, or it can support Jen. Which definitely feels like the right thing to do in this situation. I'll support Jen. Because she's right. After considering the quandary, you say that there is already a proper punishment for every wrongdoing. To carry out a sentence here and now would be murder, and such violence would be in defiance of your priestly lot. Father Ulrich stands erect. His gaze moves from Jen to you. Tell me, is your indecisiveness motivated by fear or pity? I advise you to consider which of these is more ruinous for an inquisitor. Remember this, the rules and laws of the Order were all written by men. We, however, fight those who seek to undermine the very law of the gods. But have it your way. A tribunal will decide this man's fate. With that, Ulrich turns and leaves the dungeon. You summon the acolytes and take the prisoner back to his cell. When you're done, Jen looks at you with resolve. The younger is the law, the order, and the form. To serve the twins is to obey and protect the law. I'm glad to see you understand that. Two days later, the prisoner is burned at the stake. Father Ulrich insisted the heretic be sentenced to true death. Jen attempted to appease the sentence, but the Inquisition tribunal stood with Ulrich. Oops. You watch the execution take place in the yard of the Inquisition ward. The prisoner's howling under torture seems quiet compared to his screams of agony as he's consumed by the flames. Cannot look away from his burning body. His death comes slowly. Killing him yourself 2 days ago would have been a mercy. Oh god, yeah, 2 days of suffering while he was waiting as well. Oh, I definitely made that worse for the poor bastard. The printed page. The first days of spring. It's early morning. The carriage bounces over a pothole on the road, jolting you awake. The village of Sulmina is already on the horizon. You're close now. You travel alone, escorted only by David, Agaranim, and his champions of faith. Father Ulrich was so intent on denying Jen the chance to investigate the print shop that he called for an Inquisition tribunal meeting for this very purpose. Your mentor thought you better prepared for the journey to Sulmina, and the other Inquisitors stood by him. Furious as she was, Jen had no choice but to accept the tribunal's decision. She saw you off before your departure. Not one for affectionate farewell, she gave you a stern admonition instead. Remember, only the clergy may preach and interpret the words of Isatius. Such is our lot and the burden of the priestly estate. We are the ones who are educated and trained to guide laymen onto the righteous path. The commoner or noble who expostulates on the twins is thus guilty of defying their lot, and shall suffer at the foot of the shining pillar for all eternity. The books from this accursed print shop pose a grave danger to every member of the noble and common estates. I'm counting on you, Niklaus. Make those apostates pay for what they've done. The carriage shakes as it rolls down the bumpy, Megran high road. You pass the time before your arrival by flipping through the pages of the book that started this investigation. It's a paper-bound tome, and so unusually light. You look through the familiar lines, the teachings of Isatius. In this section, the prophet outlines his thoughts on understanding the lots. And so the twins did descend upon their land, clad in flesh. They walked their path among the living, and brought their word. Blessed was the Archnean race to carry their rule throughout the land, transforming the land to suit their own design, for this design was pleasing to the twins. And so the twins did anoint the bloodline of the Tempest to rule over a worldly kingdom. Such was their will, and love, and law. And so the blessed, the Archnean Empire came to be. And so the law of this land became intertwined with the law of the heavens. And thus spake the elder, He who lives a righteous life shall know eternal bliss upon the peak of the shining pillar. And thus spake the younger, He who defies the law in life shall find eternal torment at the foot of the shining pillar. What is a righteous life? The elder would not say. What is defying the law? The younger would not say. But there was no malice in this, nor was there any secret. The twins named the blessed Archnean Empire their worldly kingdom, and thus, for all eternity, the shape and form of the empire shall be pleasing to them, and the laws of the empire shall be the law as given to us by the twins. Thus do we all serve the empire, and thus do we fulfill their will. The nobleman serves with the sword and rules over other estates, for such is his noble lot. The commoner labours for the good of the empire. Your eyes shift to the notes appended to these lines. Their author is unknown. Prophet Isatius, being the first disciple of the elder, addressed the twins by their side. What is your will? He asked. How does one live a righteous life in keeping with your law? He was granted a revelation and given a reply. There can be no doubt that this is the truth, just as there can be no doubt in the doctrines that have guided the people of the blessed Archnean Empire to the peak for more than 1,000 years. But this answer was given to the prophets in a time when the world was unlike the world of the present. The Archnean Empire was surrounded by enemies on all sides, and many lesser races and civilizations lived among us. Powerful sorcerers fought to resist the will of the true gods, and priests of false gods were corrupting the people's souls with their profane rites. This was an age when the Archnean Empire had no nobles of the mantle, nor any nobles of the human race, nor did it have any commoners to toil and labour and be ruled over for the good of the empire. The empire has changed drastically since the time when Prophet Isatius was given his answer. The empire, its form and its laws have all changed. And so our path of service to the empire and the twins must change as well. We must cast away the old answers. We must forget Isatius and the lots. The carriage comes to a halt. It's time to put the book away. You've reached the village. The locals are ready for your arrival. There are no women or children outside, only men. They casually lean on pitchforks and scythes, as though they just happen to have them on hand. The miners remain close to their pickaxes and sledgehammers. They eye you with suspicion, waiting for you to act. And so you speak to them loudly. There is a print shop in this village. Where is it? The villagers do not answer. They only clutch harder at their mattocks and staves. Some of them reach for rocks. The peasants surround you on all sides. The champions of faith, in turn, reach for their swords. Captain Nagaranim is ready to give the order to attack at the slightest provocation. But then you spot a figure up on the hill, a man with a staff dressed in white. It's Father Leonard, abbot of the temple by the silver tree. He waves to you and walks down the hill. The crowd parts before him. Our brothers and sisters, have no fear. I'm sure our guests from the Order of the Inquisition have come here with no ill intent. Please, good Inquisitors, leave these people be. They were just trying to protect me. They don't realize that the twins' protection is the only shield I need. Come with me, my friends. I'll show you what you see. He guides you to a large house up on the hill. Inside are several printing presses. Young people dressed in white attending to them, printing new pages, sorting them, and binding them into books. The print shop workers freeze in fear when they notice your black cassock and the silver seal on your side. Do you see this, dear brother? These are all books that teach the new faith. There is neither heresy nor apostasy here. This is education, and the Patriarch of Magra has approved it. Lennart produces a scroll and shows it to you. I, Cassius, Patriarch of Magra, hereby grant Father Lennart, Abbot of the Temple of the Silver Tree, permission to study and annotate the writings of the great prophet Azatius, for it is within that the lot of the priest to study the twins and interpret their will. Please understand this, brother. It is true that any layman may seek guidance from a priest, but no priest can guide every decision a person makes, for we are all endowed with a free will. If the person learns more about the twins, it will be much easier for them to follow their will on their own and chart their own path to the peak of the Shining Pillar. Enough of this heresy. Only priests have the right to interpret the faith. So said Azatius. This is your priestly lot, your duty and your burden to bear. But you new believers now seek to compel laymen to shoulder this burden. They've been inexplicably forbidden to bear it. You're just leading people straight to torment at the foot of the pillar, and you're saying this is how it's supposed to be. Please do not be so quick to blame me and our doctrine. What you have just said is also an interpretation of the lots, Captain, even though you claim it is not your burden to bear. But I don't judge you at all. For anyone who seeks their love, it's only natural to seek an understanding of their law. The teachings of Photis are not forbidden. The new faith is not heresy, but a path to salvation. We will continue to preach our doctrine and look for other paths to the peak that have been rejected by the old faith. It saddens me to see that our teachings are still met with such fierce resistance from the clergy, even here in Magra, the birthplace of the new faith. Even when the patriarchs of Archnia and Astinia have acknowledged the truth of the new faith and preach its doctrines together. Not together. Captain Agaranim's brow furrows. He looks at you. It is your lot to judge matters of the faith. You are the one who must decide. Okay, so I can destroy the print run, which knocks down the province power, increases my Inquisition power, which puts me kind of where I want to be for the ending I want. It helps with the family reputation, and Father Lennart is under penance. Leave the books alone, which increases the church in the province, knocks down Inquisition power and increases tolerance of faith, which I don't want to do. Or redact and censor the books, which it increases order in the province, increases Inquisition power and tolerance of faiths, knocks down a bit of willpower, and gives me +1 for Father Lennart. Interesting. Interesting. I don't know whether to destroy the print run or redact and censor the books. I'm going to consult the Destiny screen quickly. I'm going to destroy the print run. Why not? I really couldn't decide between the two of them, and that was a toughie. You stand up straight and command Father Lennart and his new believers to evacuate the premises of the print shop. The scroll from Patriarch Cassius says nothing about printing books, and casting doubt on the teachings of Azatius is bound to spawn a multitude of heresies and sects. The sacred texts must remain immutable and untouched. Only the clergy has the right to interpret the law of the twins in keeping with its lot. With a deep sigh, Father Lennart obeys. One of his disciples attempts to express his outrage, but the champions of faith drag the young man out of the print shop and toss him in the dirt in front of the building. The champions pile all the books outside, douse them with lamp oil, and put them to the torch. Only grey ash remains. The villagers spot the fire from afar. You hear their angry cries. The hostile mob heads in your direction, their weapons at the ready. No, please, stop. For the sake of the twins, blood will solve nothing. Draw your weapons, men. Inquisitor, bind them with a spell. That is an order. You obey. The captain is a noble. War is his lot, and right now you are a weapon he must wield. You clutch a thin, silver slab as you whisper a prayer. The power of the twins surround the villagers with a white glow. Some of the attackers freeze in place, unable to move. The rest hurl themselves at the champions of fate. Captain Agaranim pushes you behind the champions. You can barely see what happens next. Father Lenart's voice breaks through the angry clamour of the mob and the clash of weapons. "Stop this, I beg of you! Bloodshed will bring nothing but ruin!" You ready several more silver slabs, clutching them even harder. A white glow begins to spread away from you in all directions. You utter a prayer to the younger, and his power paralyses the foes closest to you. You pray to the elder, and the wounds that cover the body of a prone champion flare white and disappear. Drop by drop, the silver drips from your hands and dissolves in the air. So I'm basically the healer. The villagers are retreating. 3 of them have died a lesser death by the champion's swords. Their bodies disintegrate and vanish. More are lying on the ground, bleeding and groaning as they wait for the end. By the grace of the twins, your company has suffered no losses at all. Father Lenart is on his knees before a mutilated villager, healing his wounds with a prayer. "We do not do this, Rutger. Ever. Bloodshed begets only bloodshed. You will never meet the twins if you continue on this path." Lenart turns to you. "May I assume I am to come with you?" You return to Anazot together, escorted by the champions of faith. 1 week later, Father Lenart has to face the Sacred Tribunal. Patriarch Cassius attends the trial in person, since Father Lenart used his permission as a pretext for his activities. The tribunal wishes to hear his explanation. "I only gave Father Lenart permission to study the works of Isatius. I never authorized him to print heresy in my name." Once Cassius is done speaking, Abbot Lenart has no choice but to admit his guilt. He's forbidden to print books that have not been reviewed by the Inquisition. His penance is to take a vow of silence for 1 full year. Woo! Ba-ba-ba-ba. Ba-ba-ba-ba. The abbot was convicted by the Sacred Tribunal and received a penance. Sorry, buddy boy. Ba-ba. I figured this was coming after I looked at the Destiny screen and made that decision. Basically, there's no possible reconciliation between the old faith and the new faith, which is good because the new faith is stinky and wrong and heathenous and full of heretics, and I hate them. It's a beautiful morning. You're accompanying Inquisitor Ulrich to the site of a recent fire. A new temple on the western edge of the city was burned down last night. As Inquisitors, we have to visit these smouldering ruins, but I have no intention of staying long. This temple is no great loss. It was built by the donations of new believers hoping to find a spiritual refuge there. I don't think the Inquisition should waste its time looking for the person who started the fire. The scorched frame of the temple resembles an enormous skeleton. An acrid stench hangs in the air. The parishioners who fought the fire all night are wandering about, dazed and covered in ash. You find the old abbot of the temple, Father Ignatius, sitting by a tiny pile of salvaged items. His grey eyes are full of tears. "Inquisitors, just look at this. We collected donations for 4 years to build this temple. People gave us the last of their money. We'd almost finished it. The first service was already scheduled. We built a school nearby to teach the local children letters and numbers, but it went up in flames too. The icons of the twins, our books, were all gone. Those renegades set fire to our temple. No one else would commit such a crime. Tell me, Ulrich, will you find these godless wretches? You will punish them, won't you?" "I will speak frankly, Abbot Ignatius. The new faith of yours is a heresy and must be persecuted like any other false doctrine. The shrine you call a temple was burned down by the will of the twins. Whoever set it on fire did the Inquisition a favour. If it were up to me, both you and Father Lenart would have burned at the stake long ago." The old man is astounded by his directness. He stands up, shaking. His voice sounds unusually loud. "How dare you say such things? We're of the same faith. We both serve the twins. We both teach people and set them on the path to the peak of the pillar. And you call me a heretic?" "You have defied the lots and the law of the younger along with them. Your laymen erected this temple without the church's authority. Your laymen study the sacred writings and interpret their lots themselves. Your teachings are a venom that is destroying the ancient order of the blessed Archnean Empire. It is the duty of our order to protect people from such heresy. Only wooden boards and stones were burnt. Human souls were saved. I think our duty as Inquisitors is done here, Niklaus. You would like to stay a little longer. And as you wish, but do not waste much time. As Ulrich walks away, Abbot Ignatius follows him with a bitter look. The parishioners gather around hesitantly. It is all right, my good people. Despair not. This is not the first time we've been persecuted. It pains me to hear such words from our brothers in faith, from those who are supposed to protect us from the godless. The Inquisition may give free rein to our enemies. Patriarch himself may turn a blind eye to our grief, but the hatred of men will not block our path to the twins. We will persevere. We will not yield. We will start the collection again and rebuild our temple for the glory of the twins. The parishioners meet this speech with disordered cheers, as you see despair and exhaustion in their faces. Your duty as a priest is to set people on the path of the twins. What is the best course of action here? Can't rebuild the temple. Can't punish the arsonists, because I'm not schemy enough. Oh, also that really hurts my Inquisition power. And admonish the parishioners. So here and now, you will admonish the parishioners of the burned temple and bring them back to the old faith and the lots. You find that knocks down tolerance of faith, because I have no tolerance for the new faith. As I've said before, it is heathenous, and everyone who practices it is a heretic and should be dead. So, gets me eloquence and the new faith persecuted destiny, which ticks off yet another achievement. I believe. I imagine that'll be an achievement. You raise your hand, calling for attention. In their love, the twins gave us the law, and this law established the order that the Empire must follow. These people must renounce the false teachings of Photis and return to the true faith. They must remember their lots and observe them humbly and obediently. The temple that burned down will not be restored, since it has no place in this city. Such a temple does not belong anywhere in the Empire, just as the teachings of the new faith do not belong here. As he listens to your speech, Abbot Ignatius only clenches his fists in frustration. Seeing that this is the only answer they're going to get, the people slowly leave the scorched wasteland. You look at the child statues of the twins, their blackened faces appear twisted with rage. The persecution of the new believers is getting more and more aggressive. The only safe place left for the followers of Photis to gather is the Temple of the Silver Tree. But sooner or later, the devotees of the true faith will get to it as well. Oh no! That wasn't an achievement, I was wrong. The new faith faces ruthless persecution throughout Magra with no hope for reconciliation between the two doctrines. Sorry about it, brothers in misery. So, obviously, we all know Nathan's having a bit of a hard time. And as a result of that, he is partaking in loutish behaviour. Stefan's gone to an inn that he was in to kind of drag him out. His friends didn't like that very much and tried to lay their filthy commoner hands on Stefan and proceeded to get stabbed to death as a result. That was classed as an unlawful killing, shockingly. So Stefan and Nathan both got arrested. And they have sent for me to bail them out of trouble, and because of my new lot in life, I can take them to the Inquisition. So I arranged for the case to be entrusted to you as an Inquisitor and free your brothers, which I've never done before. It does knock down my Inquisition power by 1, but I think that's okay, because I should be able to build that back up again pretty easily. That gets me +1 with Stefan and Nathan, and increases my scheming and doesn't affect unity, so why not? You produce your Inquisitor's medallion and show it to the gendarmes. Your brother's case involves heresy, you explain. Hence it must be transferred to the Inquisition without delay. But, Inquisitor Brante, we saw Sir Stefan run that man right through before our eyes. The law says... You glare at the gendarme captain. Is Linard questioning your authority? Or does he wish to compel the Inquisition to take a closer look at the prefecture's cases? Distraught, the gendarme nods obediently and unlocks the cell. The elder brother takes the younger by the scruff of the neck and pulls him to the door. Nathan staggers and shuffles along limply. You march after them, Stefan's sword in your hands. Your brothers are free again. Stefan sheathes his sword reverently. I knew I could count on you, Niklaus. Not even a priest's robes could make you forget our family's honour is always paramount. With a grim air, you agree. In order to rectify this situation, you had to take advantage of your office. Sooner or later, the city's clerics will become aware of it. Your abuse of power will inevitably harm the Inquisition's authority. Back home, Stefan starts lecturing Nathan. From now on, there'll be no drinking bouts or other nocturnal exploits. Who are those rogues you befriended anyway? Stop shaming this family. You're so worthless, at least let others go about their business in peace. Do you understand, you blockhead? Nathan remains silent, staring despondently somewhere above him. You interrogate Nathan yourself. You have to ascertain whether he is really keeping company with heretics. You ask Nathan who the people he was drinking with at the end were, and what they were teaching him. They weren't teaching me nothing, Niklaus. We just decided it was high time we stopped incessantly restraining ourselves and did whatever our souls asked of us. Nathan, that sounds new, Faithy, and I will not have that in my house. His soul. This is exactly what Nathan should be thinking about. You sternly expound the dangers of such insolence to your brother. Surely now that he's been behind bars, he did not wish to end up in the dungeons of the Inquisition. Nathan furrows his brow and stares at you in silence. Whatever he's concealing, you'll not be able to force him to reveal it just yet. Okay, that's okay, because I just need to be between 7 and 9, and I still need to get evidence on Cassius, and I still have so much more time left to go. Principle of the Will. Ooh. Wait a minute. No, I was thinking there's an ending called The Shadow of the Will. I was thinking, I'm not at this point. Yeah, surely. The power of the Inquisition is growing in Marlborough with each passing day. You rejoice in the thoughts that you've contributed to this. One evening, Inquisitor Ulrich comes to see you. Good evening, Inquisitor Niklaus. Tomorrow morning I'm going on a little pilgrimage to one of the most ancient temples of the Twins, not far from Anazot. I would like you to accompany me. You meet Ulrich by the east gate at first light. Your mentor carries a pack of torches behind his back. He hands you a heavy bag of water and supplies. Let's go. It's a long way. If we want to make it back before dark, we should hurry. And so begins your journey deep into the deserts. After Anazot disappears completely behind the dunes, you feel utterly lost. But Ulrich still marches on confidently, never slowing down despite the increasing heat. When the sun reaches its zenith, walking becomes an impossible task. Your throat is dry, the hot air burning you on the inside with every breath you take. Ulrich climbs one last dune and points at a small cliff standing tall amid the sand. There it is. Completely worn out by the heat, you trudge behind your mentor. He leads you towards a small entrance to a cave and hands you one of the torches. It'll be dark inside. The cave runs deep underground. Part of it is buried in sand. Trying not to fall behind, you examine your surroundings as you walk. The walls are covered with pictures that look very ancient. The further down you go, the more images there are. After some pictures of creatures unknown to you, you see those of Archnians, humans, and La-Tari. What is this place? Which era and events are depicted in these murals? Eventually, the corridor ends. You enter a temple. It's a spacious cavern. The natural walls of the cave have been smoothed down and decorated with intricate paintings. The largest image depicts two familiar figures, the elder and the younger. Behind them, protected by the gods, you see humans and Archnians. Other nations and false gods burn at their feet. The younger smites his enemies with a sword, enforcing the law. The elder casts a sorrowful glance to the side, then denies his love to those who refuse to accept him. You're startled by Ulrich's voice behind you. His words echo throughout the cave. Tell me, Niklaus, which aspect of the twins stands above the others? You turn to your mentor, trying to comprehend the question. Without waiting for an answer, Ulrich continues. Isatius chose the law as the foundation of his teachings. It was on this basis that he constructed the theory of the lots, and that now underpins our blessed Archnian Empire. The new believers see love as the source of all existence and place it above the law. But the truth is, both law and love are created by the will, as is everything in this world. This cave was a shrine of a people long vanished. They despised the twins and saw in our gods the evil that destroyed their world. But the history of this civilization is buried in oblivion. The twins destroyed all false gods, and those who worshipped them of their own will. There is no one else up there, only the elder and the younger, and there is no one else in the world but humans and Archnians. Such is the triumph of will over will. Ulrich pauses. His gaze is fixed upon you. When he speaks again, his tone alters subtly. The Inquisitor seems to fill the cave with his very presence. But how can we serve those who are will incarnate? And what is the will? Prophet Isatius gave us an answer to this question too, in the third volume of his teachings, now banned by the Church and buried in oblivion. Don't be surprised, Niklaus. The Holy Fathers were frightened by the teachings the Prophet gave us in the autumn of his years, but I will share his secret with you. Isatius said that the nature of the will lies in struggle, in mastery, in power over everything. It was in struggle between the wills of the elder and the younger that our world was born. By mastering someone else's will, you gain your own. The true path to serving the twins entails power over the will of another. Niklaus, what would you do if you knew that only by breaking the law could you set foot upon the path of the will? What would you say if you knew that only by renouncing any will but your own could you serve the gods? That's a tough one. I can agree. The world is driven by will. Your entire life is proof of that. You're ready to serve the will from now on. But I can disagree. The twins are more than just the will. They're also the love and the law. You will not walk a false path, which I think is the logical thing, because they are. It's been said constantly that they are the will, the law, the love, and the law. Okay, he's potentially teaching me something new. So that's story-wise. This +2 Inquisition power, +1 death, +40 willpower, and Father Ulrich becomes my master, which is good for the Shadow of the Will ending. That's what I need for that. Except no, even if I was to do that, I couldn't do that because then my deaths would be greater than 2. So maybe we'll do that on another playthrough, in like a mock-up playthrough, I guess, but I'm going to disagree, which is going to tank my willpower a little bit and will knock down my relation with Ulrich, but let's do it. I don't wish to have 3 deaths under my belt. Under Ulrich's gaze, you choke on your words. You cannot move. Your head is spinning, as though you're walking into a hurricane, but you answer the Inquisitor. The twins are more than just will. They are also love and law, walking a path of eternal struggle against another's will. Overcoming it and mastering it means rejecting their love. Defying the established order means defying the law. There's no service along the path of the will. The path of the will is an insolent attempt to challenge the twins themselves. Ulrich scrutinizes you for a while, then nods. You are absolutely right, Brother Niklaus. The patriarchs of the Church made the same judgment when they found out about this false teaching. I put your faith to the test, and it proved to be strong and unwavering. Now let us pray to the twins. After a short prayer, you set out on the trek back to Anazot. Ulrich remains completely silent throughout the journey. You relate your bizarre pilgrimage and Ulrich's words to Jen the next day. She ponders them. You know, Brother Niklaus, that was a very odd test indeed. I think we should gather some more information about our mentor. I'll look into it. Perhaps our brothers and his sisters from Eterna can tell us something about his past. It fully wasn't a test. He was just like, he was trying to play it cool. Oh, my willpower. This is not good. Miracles and wonders. You've not had any serious cases since the investigations of Father Lennart's print shop and the La-Tari Society. The only matter that currently warrants the Inquisition's presence in the province is the ongoing struggle between the old faith and the new. Did Abbot Lennart lie to you about Patriarch Cassius's heresy? There's a knock on the door. Father Ulrich has left the province for now, so all petitioners are coming to you. You set your thoughts aside and focus your gaze on the visitor. A middle-aged nobleman enters your office. His jacket is decorated with large sewn-on beads. He states his name, Carl El Capo, and claims to have run afoul of magic. Sir El Capo owns a village by the name of Gracinia. The harvests there are abundant, and all plants and trees take root with amazing success. The village claims it's a blessing from the twins, but Sir El Capo thinks otherwise. The nobleman claims that Sister Ariadella, the village priestess, is a witch. People have seen plants and trees blossom and bear fruit at her touch, here in barren Magra, with its lifeless soil. A pious man, Sir El Capo does not want to shelter a witch who corrupts his property with her ungodly sorcery and feeds its cursed fruit to his men. You carefully write down the nobleman's every word, then leave for Gracinia at once, escorted by a squad of champions. Even from the high road, the village is striking. The trees, the grass, the flower beds, it's all so green. Only nobles could afford such luxury in Anazot, and they import fertile soil for their gardens at great expense. You grew up among greenery, but your family garden had nothing this green and lush. You come to a halt next to a small, well-tended little house. A tall, slender young woman dressed in a black cassock comes out to greet you. This can only be Sister Ariadella. She looks at you. Her eyes are the brightest shade of emerald green, because she's a nature witch. Greetings, Inquisitor. Please come in. As unexpected as your visit must be, the young woman shows no fear whatsoever. You tell the champions of faith to remain outside for now. Ariadella takes you to the backyard of her home, a beautiful, verdant garden. So, Inquisitor Nicklaus, have you come to proclaim the miracle? What? What miracle? Ariadella smiles. She gestures to the flowers and trees growing all around. Why, just look. It's a miracle. A vast garden has appeared here, all thanks to our hard work and prayers to the twins. There's no garden like it anywhere else in Magra, except for those with imported soil. I prayed for this ever since I was a little girl. It all started when I prayed for my mother's flowers not to die, and as soon as I touched the soil with a prayer on my lips, it became soft, and the flowers grew strong. I've been doing it all my life. I just pray, touch the earth, and the soil lives again. This is why I became a priest. I wanted to use my gift from the twins for the good of the people. I went to Patriarch Cassius, and he guided me towards the priestly lots and sent me back home to Gracinia. And now our life here has become truly wondrous. Thank the twins. I knew you'd come. I just knew it. Who else should proclaim the miracle from the twins if not the Inquisition? Ariadella whispers a prayer from the heavens and touches a green stalk. It responds to her touch with a little bud. A moment later, a beautiful flower unfurls to greet you. The girl turns to you. There is great expectation in her eyes, and sparks of verdant green. You try your best to let her down gently. This wonder is different from the miracles worked by the twins. In fact, it's the opposite. The young woman's power comes from heretical magic, a distortion of the law of creation, an act abhorrent to the twins. The priestess's face expresses confusion, then terror. How can you say such a thing? My power comes from the twins, I know it. I serve them. I bring their blessing into this world. I was guided to the priestly lot by Patriarch Cassius himself. He couldn't have been mistaken. He'd never lie to me like that. You're not yet ready to say why the Patriarch would do this, but as for Ariadella herself, she must be collared and sent to the House of Humility, where all witches and mages of the Empire belong. There she will be stripped of her lot and her free will, to serve the Empire and its people as an instrument of the Church. The priestess is shocked. She cannot move. Tears begin to stream down her cheeks. No, you can't do this. How? Nothing will grow in Gracinia without me. This village, it will die, and my entire garden along with it. The young woman falls to her knees, weeping. She folds her arms across her chest and begins to mutter. You can barely distinguish her words between her sobs and tears, but eventually you realise that she's praying. Although she believed herself to be a holy woman, Ariadella was in fact transgressing against the divine law. She must be punished, so saith the younger. And yet she has devoted her powers to a good cause, utterly unaware that what she was doing was wrong. However, there is another question. Why would Cassius allow her to use magic in the name of the twins? It could not have been a mistake. The Patriarch intentionally sent her on this heretical path, but why would he commit such sacrilege? To what end? Perhaps Father Lenart's report was not unfounded after all. The time for pondering is at an end. You must act. Ariadella's fate is in your hands. Okay, so the one I can't do is save Ariadella. it's what I want to do because she doesn't know what she's doing, but I can't. So that's fine. And also, it doesn't fit into the narrative because magic wrong, evil, witches burn. So subdue Ariadella, which gives me Inquisition power, which I need. You'll deliver her to the Inquisition to be stripped of her lot and her free will. Proclaim this occurrence a miracle of the twins, which is not going to happen because it upsets my Inquisition power. Have Ariadella executed, which doesn't impact my Inquisition at all. So I'm going to subdue Ariadella. So I feel bad for her because she didn't know what she was doing, but at the same time, witches get stitches. You look away from Ariadella, who's praying at your feet. You shout for the defenders of the faith to arrest this woman. You lock the silver collar on her neck yourself. It will prevent her from casting her fiendish spells. Once the collar's in place, her eyes grow dim. Back in Anazotz, you send Ariadella to the dungeon of the Inquisition and instruct your subordinates to interrogate her without mercy. That seems a bit excessive. She clearly doesn't know anything. She didn't even know she was a witch until like an hour ago. The morning after, Patriarch Cassius comes to the Inquisition ward in person with Sir El Capo in tow. The nobleman is terrified, claiming he mistook a miracle of the twins for magic. He begs you to undo his mistake, set the priestess free, and punish him severely for his false accusation. But the accusation proved to be true, you explain to him. Ariadella's miracles were in fact works of magic, and now she must be sent to the House of Humility, as all mages must be. Patriarch Cassius walks up to you from behind the nobleman. After Sir El Capo visited you yesterday, the twins led him to me. I know Sister Ariadella well, which is why I'm here to speak on her behalf. This young woman is a kind, timid soul with a pious and loving heart. To call her a vessel of magic is unthinkable to me. This must be a terrible mistake, I'm sure of it. You shake your head. The Order is absolutely certain about the nature of her twins' cursed power, which the good Patriarch had overlooked. She was a threat to the people of Gracinia and the entire Empire. I mean, she wasn't. She really wasn't. Cassius's face grows grim, but he regains his composure. When he replies, his voice sounds as calm as ever. I never had any concerns about Sister Ariadella. Neither did any of the priests in Magra. Your accusations sound defiant, but I have no choice but to accept your judgment. However, Gracinia has been left without guidance. Their priestess is gone, a righteous, pious youth who lived for her faith in the twins. You ought to consider this. The Patriarch walks away without saying goodbye. El Capo hurries after him. You have to visit the village of Gracinia once again in order to preach to the villagers. You explain that the magic that had seeped into their soil will soon be gone, just as all magic must vanish when confronted by the tender will of the twins. The village parish will receive a new priest who will take good care of them. The people grow calm again, and you leave Gracinia. The scorching Mogren winds bid you farewell by hurling desiccated yellow leaves at your back. So I've pretty much all but killed the new faith. Good. Knight of Sword and Lash. You're awakened in the middle of the night by loud noises and shouting. You quickly slip on your cassock and run outside. You smell something burning. People with torches in their hand run past you, wearing capes bearing the symbol of the Church of the Twin Gods. Several buildings on your street are ablaze, the homes of new believers. The torch-bearing crowd is moving towards the Silver Tree. You dart after them as fast as your legs can carry you. At the next corner, you stumble across a brawl. 3 armed men surrounded a man with grey hair wearing a bathrobe. A young man lays on the ground at his feet, bleeding. His son, presumably. You see encircled crosses on the murderer's clothing. You run through the city, fires and skirmishes all around you. It's as though a war has broken out and some unknown enemy has infiltrated Anazot. But these enemies dwell within the city itself. Houses are burning. They're shouting, weeping, blood everywhere. A family with many children is tearing through the square in a panic. A wounded man is lying on the street, screaming for help. No one notices him. Under a streetlight, you see the bodies of those who have died a true death stacked up like cordwood. My god, it's like the revolt all over again. What is it with me and creating carnage? You run, avoiding any altercations. When you reach the square under the Silver Tree, you see an immense, angry crowd. They have surrounded the temple. Heretics! Heresy! Heresy! Death to the heretics! In the spot where Patriarch Photis died stands a delicate brunette in a hood. She's brandishing a torch and calling out to the crowd. The time has come to purge this sacred place of the false teachings of Photis. The Church and the Inquisition tolerate their lies, but we will not allow the heretics to desecrate the Temple of the Silver Tree with their presence. The woman points at the temple. We will go against our lot and accept the punishment, but we will purge the city of heresy. Her appeal is met with vigorous cheers. The crowd starts moving. Abbot Leonard's and his flock have locked themselves in the temple, but the gate will not hold the angry crowd back for long. Whew. Okay, so I'm guessing lead the new believers out the temple. That's... you'll save the new believers and hide them in your own home. No. Let them burn. Filthy heretics. That's what they get. This is bringing out an evil side of me. Let the fanatics take over the temple. Admonish the angry crowd. Oh my god, I die. Really? Oh no, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I do not want 3 deaths. That's what's putting me off. The fact that it's only -1 for Inquisition power is good, but it's that death that's doing me a heckin' frighten. Also, the fact that I could have died twice in this, it means I was completely wrong about the fact that when I become a member of the clergy, I don't get reborn. What do I know? Okay. I'm gonna let the fanatics say, oh no. So I'm gonna admonish the angry crowd. I'll take the death. I will accept the L. You dash in front of the roaring crowd and climb onto the platform to get their attention. The fanatics fall silent, then notice the Silver Inquisitor's medallion on your belt and begin shouting again. This is all your fault. You let this happen. You failed in your duty. You try to appease them. Judging matters of faith is your priest's lot. Fighting and killing is the nobleman's lot. The commoners must lay down their arms, leave matters of faith to the clergy, and return to their humble labour as the twins have decreed. You feel a sharp pain in your right side. Turning your head, you see the girl who had encouraged them to break into the temple is standing beside you. She's holding a knife. Blood is running down the blade. Your blood. We do not trust those who defend heretics. There's a moment of silence. The frantic crowd breaks out in an angry roar. You fall down onto the platform. Darkness envelops you. Well, that was quick. You're surrounded by an immense grey void. There's nothing but shadows around you. The spectres of your decisions, the spawn of your personal will. You see before you all your victories and defeats, all your errors and hopes. Another shadow comes to life by your side. As you gaze at these elusive moving silhouettes, you recognise your last action. This is the death you chose to face, knowing what fate was to befall you. This is the decision you made. The shadows keep spinning and dancing around you, the footprints of every step you've taken since the day you were born. A colossal figure looms over all of them, your future true death. You can no longer deny its imminence. It has always been there, waiting for you. Now you are only one step away from it, but you will take this step yourself. The familiar, gigantic figures of the twin gods appear from the void to meet you. They effortlessly lift your tiny soul and hold it in their hands. You've always been in the twin gods' hands. Their will created you. The elder did not grant you his love, he forced it into you. The younger shaped you according to his law without giving you a choice. An enormous whirlwind arises in the void. The twin gods released you into it, and the torrent of unfathomable will whisks you away. You are merely a minuscule particle in this universal tide. This will is the sole determiner of all events, past, present, and future. Your puny actions and choices are nothing in the face of the force this torrent harbours. You whirl in the cosmic vortex of the twin god's will until it casts you out. You careen back down to your earthly life. It is only now that you regain your ability to act. You see all the wills of the universe intertwined in a perpetual struggle against one another. Which will you follow? You will follow the will of the god who imposed his law upon the world. You fall into an endless web formed by the wills of the mortal world. Now that you're free of the cosmic vortex, you can finally exert your own will and make a choice. It feels like a first gasp of air after being suffocated by an alien will, the will of the gods. But for your chosen will to be incarnated here in the world, one decision is not enough. You will have to follow this path to its conclusion, to turn this will into reality by way of your decisions, deeds, and actions. Your eyes snap open, and you sit up abruptly. The crypt is spinning around you. The stagnant stench chokes you. You got out. You succeeded in preserving yourself against the whirlwind that was tearing you asunder. The will of the twin gods have commanded you to continue your existence. You feel the urge to fall flat on your back and cackle madly. You are back. Okay, no more deaths for me. A heart beats, an intake of breath. The ceiling of the family crypt, the moist cold of the stone slab. Jen is by your side. She helps you up. Klaus, you're finally back. I was so afraid the twins would take you to the peak. After what they did to you at the temple, the gods could have deemed you worthy of eternal bliss by their sides. Those fanatics ripped your body to pieces, but then they got cold feet. They didn't dare attack the temple. The champions of faith and I got there too late. The ringleaders had already fled. We dispersed the crowd as best we could and led the people out of the temple. Still don't understand. How could they have gone so far? Jen falls silent for a moment. The people have forgotten us for our inaction. We have allowed this heresy to fester for far too long. We are the reason they acted so horribly. This is our fault. Well, I didn't realise this is what was going to happen. Otherwise I maybe would have balanced it a little better. You ask Jen to help you home. Leaning on her arm, you stumble across the yard. An acrid stench lingers in the air. The neighbouring houses have been burned to the ground. Your yard is covered in ash. It looks like a blanket of snow. I've died thrice. Not once or twice, but thrice. So the Festival of the Silver Tree. So it's a family gathering. It's an important holiday, and the family's all gathered. And this was one of probably the most heartwarming moments in the entire game, because Stefan actually shows some humanity and is nice to everybody. I mean, it doesn't last long, because him and Gloria can't be in the same room for more than 3 minutes without an argument happening, but it's nice while it lasted. So Gloria's sitting there with her poems, looking all forlorn and grizzled. I'm going to do what I did before and appeal to Mother, so basically let Mother calm Gloria down. Which upsets Gloria, but does help with family unity, so it's just Mother basically saying, Gloria, remember your Lot's theory, blah 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 blah, and Gloria going, no, the Lots are rubbish, blah, and running away, basically, in summary. But we have 8 unity now, though, which is good. Okay, so, again, the biggest lie this chapter tells is that peacetime ends soon. It doesn't. Okay, so Cassius faces the tribunal, which is definitely what I think I'm going for. I need to get between 7 and 9 in evidence against Cassius, which is all, well, I'm hoping is all doable. What am I on at the moment? 6. Okay, so I only need to get that up for 1 more, which is good. Since the incident with the priestess Ariadella, Patriarch Cassius has mostly retreated from the public eye and stopped preaching. Coincidence? No one can say for sure. Not all witches and mages resemble the pious Ariadella. You still remember Brian, the young boy who went to our school. If you and Thomas had not stopped him, he would have burned that school to the ground. You can't help but think that the Patriarch may be aiding mages and offering them shelter. The very thought makes you uneasy. You share your concerns with Jeanne and Father Ulrich. Your mentor nods in support. I have seen this before. Junius Diamonds, the Patriarch of Astinia, attempted to protect a couple of sinners once. There was a priest who was rotting with a witch, and Junius tried to protect him. So perhaps you're right, Niklaus. Perhaps our Cassius has a soft spot for these abhorrent degenerates as well. I say we should investigate. You exchange glances with Jeanne. Both of you still recall that tribunal in a turn of 5 years ago. It's a shame the Order has no way to secretly gather information about the parishes that support the Patriarch. Everyone in those parishes knows each and every Inquisitor by sight. I intend to ask the Secret Chancellery for aid. This should be a simple matter for them. Undercover outlaws who challenge and undermine the Emperor's sacred rule. Rebels who pose a threat to the Twins' blessed order of the present. The Secret Chancellery wages war on all these foes. You know very little about their other activities. The Order and the Secret Chancellery decide to work together. For the long year that follows, they painstakingly search for clues and investigate rumours. You examine each and every parish in Magra, trying in vain to find other mages sheltered by the Patriarch. if such mages even exist. You lose nearly all hope of success. But then, one winter night, your efforts are finally rewarded. The sunset outside the window has turned to dusk, but Jen still has not returned to the ward. Normally, she would tell you if she were doing something after hours. You grow worried. Seeking reassurance, you approach the champions of faith who have stood guard for the day and ask them when they last saw Sister Jen. Oh, why Sister Jen left early this morning to help the Secret Chancellery. Their agent ran up to her at the doorstep. He gave her a sealed note and they drove away together. He said it was important. They say they found the trail of a runaway mage somewhere on the western edge of the city, in the warehouses in the old city walls. I say you shouldn't worry. We checked a dozen such rumours from their agents every month, but we never find anything. Despite the captain's assurances, you remain apprehensive. You tell Agoronim to gather the champions and check on them. You go to the western edge of Anazots. There are almost no residential buildings there, just ruins and workhouses. In fact, it can be quite hard to tell one from the other. As the half-crumbled wall on the edge of the city draws near, you feel your heart beat with greater urgency. Your apprehension grows. You come to a warehouse. The door is smashed in, ripped off the hinges. The inside is splattered with blood. You see wrecked furniture and soot. An intense battle was fought here. By the basement stairs, you find a small pile of scorched clothes, the last remnants of someone's lesser death. It looks nothing like Jen's cassock, thank the twins. There is something on the lapel of the charred jacket, a brooch in the shape of a wheel. This belonged to an agent of the Secret Chancellery. One floor below you, you hear a blow followed by a woman's muffled moan. Jen could be down there. Captain Agoronim nods. Like a prayer, he whispers the usual words. Inquisitor Nicholas, you are my weapon, I now must wield. Strike my enemies down until I tell you otherwise. At his order, the champions of faith move out. Their heavy boots thunder down the stairs to the basement. You run down behind them. A tunnel, low and dark. Jen is there, surrounded by half a dozen figures. Her face is bruised, her lips cracked, her eyes barely open. Her cassock shows several knife cuts soaked with blood. The unknown thugs turn to face you. They have gunpowder weapons. Shots explode in the dark. Swords flash like bolts of lightning. Screams. One of them summons magical fire in his hands. You clutch hard at the thin silver slab with a prayer to the younger, and the magical flames are doused as the silver melts in your hand. You continue the whispered prayer, staring straight into the mage's eyes. At this moment, in this place, it feels easier than ever to invoke the younger's ruthless law. The mage glances around as the champions of faith push the outlaws back despite the flurry of explosive shots. The rebels' weapons are too slow to reload, and in close combat, they are clearly weaker. The mage turns tail and runs away down a long, dark tunnel. You glance back at Jen. Blood still oozes from her wounds, but more slowly now. Her head has fallen on her chest. Her eyes are closed. So I can chase the mage, or I can heal Jen. Why is my relation with Jen wavering? That's really weird that they're like exactly the same. Okay, I'm going to chase the mage because this gets my Inquisition power up, and either way, I'm plus with Jen, so... Oh no, my relationship with Jen isn't wavering. That's fine. I misread the equals not equal to sign. You leave the narrow room and the fighting behind and run after the mage. The tunnel ends in a pile of rubbish concealing a secret passage. Once you emerge outside, you pray to the younger once again. Grant me the strength to smite my enemy. Bind him with the power of the law. The silver melts away at your fingertips. Another thin slab of the twins' blessed metal has been sacrificed. But they hear your prayer and grant you the power to perform a miracle. A white glow surrounds the mage, binding him, depriving him of the ability to move. Can we talk about the irony of using magic to fight magic? He falls down on the road, unable to move or speak. He's scrawny, apparently an adolescent. The champions of faith emerge behind you, battered and scarred from the fight, pushing the bound outlaws ahead of them. Jen is nowhere to be seen. You meet Captain Agoronim's eyes. He slowly shakes his head. Jen has died a lesser death, but the sinful mage has been caught. The Secret Chancellery takes your captive away for questioning. Is Patriarch Cassius involved in this? You can only hope that you will learn answers soon enough. Jen returns to the Inquisition ward the next morning. She meets your awkward greeting with a smile. Then, all of a sudden, she grabs you by the arm of your cassock. There's something I wanted to tell you, but not here. Let's go somewhere else. Maybe the yard. The yard of the ward is full of sunlight and thick lilac in bloom. No window can see you from behind the lilac trees. I wanted to tell you not to worry about what happened to me. You did the right thing. You caught him. The cost doesn't matter. Our lives are given to us to serve. Her fingers are still there, holding you by the sleeve. You both notice this at the same time. Jen's cheeks grow pink. Softly, you put your hand over hers. You feel as though you're a child under the silver tree again. Her hand rests in yours. You stand like this until the bell rings for the noon sermon. Jen pulls her hand away and looks at you. Her face shows embarrassment, fear, and joy. She takes a step backwards, then another, her eyes still meeting yours. Then she quickly turns away and hurries inside, her hand clutched to her chest. Okay. Goody, 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 goody. Goody, 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 goody. Revelation. It's been several months since Jen was rescued from the insurgents. You learned that the mage hunted by the secret chancellery was a rebel, a member of a clandestine society who took refuge in a local parish. Father Ulrich took it upon himself to personally interrogate the abbot of the parish. The priest confessed to the crime. He even confirmed that Patriarch Cassius was involved. According to the abbot, he accepted the mage as an acolyte at the parish after the Patriarch vouched for him personally. However, you are aware of the methods Father Ulrich employs to extract his confessions. The abbot's words may be far from the truth. You can't help but suspect that Ulrich made the abbot lie all the blame on Cassius for his own mysterious reasons. Jen, on the other hand, is more eager than ever to believe that the Patriarch is guilty. We must put Cassius on trial before the new Sacred Conclave. The Patriarch stands before the twins, and they will judge our entire flock based on him. If the newly chosen Patriarch is a heretic, who knows what blasphemous obscenities he will utter in their presence. The evidence you have is not enough to bring the Patriarch to trial. However, Ulrich intends to use your information to destroy Cassius's public image and his support among the clergy. Your sacred mission is looking more and more like a dirty political game, and you find this sickening. Desperate for a change of scenery, you seek solace in a walk through the familiar alleyways of Anazot. You notice something different. An unusual number of people on the streets of Anazot are armed. Not just nobles, even commoners have defied their lot by carrying small hatchets and clubs tucked into their belts. Father spoke of this at the dinner table last night. The city gendarmes are unable to maintain order on the streets. The commoner members of the lesser quorum are calling for the common folk to fight for their rights, while the nobles are mired in the ongoing struggle between Archduke Tarquinius Melanidas and the Imperial Overseer Gaius Tempest. You feel uneasy. People are beginning to challenge Isatius' vision of the lots. Too many now reject the divine law that brought order to the Empire by shackling its subjects' destinies to the lots. The Empire is changing. You cannot help but feel a sense of foreboding, as though some dreadful, world-shaking event is about to take place. You don't remember how your legs guided you to the silver tree. As always, a profound sense of tranquility descends upon you. You close your eyes and whisper words of gratitude. As you pray, you hear a loud voice in the distance. A monk you've never met is preaching. The most sorrowful thing that happened when the twins descended to our world was their deaths on opposite shores of the river Eterna. The elder was torn apart by the mob, whether from love, madness, or some other purpose we do not know. And that very moment, the younger disappeared as well, gone in a flash of light. And so a bright but terrible times of trouble began. The people were lost, unsure of what to do. The twins had told them of the peak and the foot of the shining pillar, but before they could tell the people how to reach the peak and meet them in the hereafter, they were gone. 12 years passed between the day the twins died and the day Isatius, beloved disciple of the elder, described the twins as will, love, and law in his first book. And then, 2 years later, Isatius received his second revelation, and thus the second book was written. And in this book, the prophet taught us how to live a righteous life and earn a place at the peak of the shining pillar in the hereafter. And all the faithful found peace at last. With this understanding, the three lots came to be. You linger for a moment to listen to the sermon before moving on. You see a few armed men in the slums and almost no gendarmes. Anazot still seems so peaceful here, just like in the days of your youth. Men and women pass on the narrow streets, busy with their lives. You hear children's voices in the yards. The boys are pushing at each other by a fence. They're almost the same height, and both are thin, with light brown hair. One of them shouts to the other, "Don't do that! Mum's going to punish us! She told us to stop!" His voice echoes in your head. The world around you ripples and quivers. The colours grow more vivid for a moment, then instantly turn pale. Everything is getting brighter and brighter. There's light coming from the silver tree. It fills the slums. It hurts to look at. A brilliant flash blinds you. The light drowns out everything. You see a crowd of people. Their faces are blurred and inscrutable, like faded old paintings. They're listening to a man's silhouette standing before them. You cannot hear his words, but you can feel the love emanating from him. It washes over everyone like a wave of warmth. He's a wise teacher offering guidance to his disciples. A peasant crawls up to the teacher on his hands and knees. He's harnessed to a plough. He reaches out in a desperate plea, and the teacher removes the peasant's harness. He helps him to his feet and hands him a sword. And in this act, there is love. You felt this sensation only once before. You cannot remember when. It's unquestionable, endless, absolute. The softest touch, like a hand wiping the tears from a child's face. The next moment, another silhouette appears beside the first. Your heart skips a beat. Crime is always followed by punishment. Inevitable, merciless retribution. The judge's sentence. This is right. This is how it must be. The judge is here, and he craves justice. The law is one, the same for all. The teacher is alone. His audience disappears, dissolving like shadows. The judge approaches, and the teacher steps towards him. His arms open in an embrace. The judge's sword suddenly rises to meet him. The image freezes before you. Both silhouettes appear in the light of the silver tree. The sentence has been rendered. The lot fulfilled. And then you're surrounded by the slums of Anazot once again. The encircled cross of the twins feels hot against your chest, burning your skin even through your cassock. Your breath is ragged, the blood pounding in your temples. You've just experienced an inexplicable revelation, a vision given to those seeking answers, those such as Prophet Isaiah. And this revelation is bursting out of you. It must be interpreted correctly. Interestingly, go home affects my reputation negatively. You go to your family, they are more dear to you than anyone else in the world, and you want to share this revelation with them. Interesting. Okay, well, we'll do this. We'll go to Jen. Walk to Jen's home to share this revelation with a follower of the Old Faith. Which gets me +1 reputation, and +1 with Jen, which doesn't matter because 5 is the maximum. And tolerance of faith can't go any lower than 0. I hope. You walk for over an hour. In Anazot, the sun lingers for a long time in the heavens, but when the sky grows dark, dusk comes suddenly. You appear on Jen's doorstep at the very moment when the glow of the sunset gives way to darkness. Niklaus, I wasn't expecting it to be you. I thought it was one of the sisters. They often visit me during this hour. Well, come in. Did something happen? You enter. Her house is tiny. A single room with a bed, a small table, the icons of the twins, a shelf of books, and a narrow wardrobe. Jen offers you the only chair and sits on the edge of the bed. You sigh deeply a couple of times, then begin to talk. Jen plies you with questions, asking you to describe certain details again and again. When you're done, you're both silent for a while. You've had a revelation. Actually, I think I know what it means. It means that even the twins have their own lots, just as we have ours. And just as they follow their lots, so must we follow ours. The Elder is love, and for the sake of his love, he defied the law. He took away the people's preordained lots and gave them others. What the Elder did, he did because he could not act in any other way. Such is the lot of love. And the younger did what he did because he could not act in any other way. He had to punish his brother for his crime. For the younger is the law. He is the judge and the executioner. And it's the nature of the law that everyone must find the punishment they duly deserve, even if that someone is a god. Could you please tell the people of Anazot about your revelation during tomorrow's sermon? You agree. The next day, you preach a sermon by the silver tree. Your words are met with outrage among the new believers, but the nobles and old believers receive it well. Your sermon is further proof of their right to rule, and the common folk are reminded that the Lots are unshakable. That evening, to your surprise, Stefan greets you at the door of your family home. He looks at you with uncustomary admiration. I was at your sermon today. The way you reminded the people of their duties was truly inspirational. The twins sent you this revelation so they could put those heretics and their false ideas in place. I'm sure of it. And so are all the other nobles who were at the Silver Tree today. The Elvermans and the Elverlascos send their warm regards. You thank him. Perhaps your brother would like to share a prayer with you. Together, you kneel before the icons of the twins and thank them. In the trembling candlelights, the younger's image seems to give you a slight nod of approval. Okay, doing good for family reputation. A confession. A servant wakes you up in the middle of the night. There's a visitor, a champion of faith with an urgent note. You unfold the scrap of paper. Meet me at the Silver Tree. It's urgent. Jen. She would not summon you so late unless it was truly important. Something has happened. Is Jen in danger? The shining pillar is particularly bright tonight, its light merging with the glow of the Silver Tree. Jen's not by the temple door. She's a bit further away, in the square. She greets you and leads you under one of the tree's enormous roots. It's twisted and bent, forming a peculiar kind of grotto. Niklaus, there's something I must tell you. You're the only person I can bare my soul to. Under the Silver Tree, no one can ever tell a lie. I will be completely honest with you. Please offer me your guidance. Or, if I am to suffer for all eternity in the hereafter, then tell me this too. Slowly, you nod in return. The Silver Tree's tranquility fills you. The woman who stands before you is not an inquisitor right now. At this moment, she's a human, a person, with all her weaknesses, mistakes, and inner conflicts. Of course, you tell her. You would be glad to offer her guidance. Jen sighs heavily. She's terrified, but her resolve is stronger than her fear. The twins are law and will and love. This is what we tell everyone who comes to us for help. This is what we say so many times a day in prayer. Their law is clear to me, and I can feel their will everywhere. But what do I do about love? How am I supposed to tell their love from the worldly love that no priests are ever allowed to feel? Do you remember when we first met? It was here, a lifetime ago. We both belonged to the common lot back then. I took your hand in mine. I wanted to keep you safe at the temple, safe from the corrupting teachings of Fotis. And that's when it all began. I can still remember how you blushed. All my life, service to the twins has been my only truth. I've known my path and the sacrifices I've had to make ever since I was a little girl. I'll never be a wife or a mother. I'll never live a life of pleasure. I have been given the gift of truth. I am the one who must bring their word into the world. But you, every day I spend with you is agony. I've gone astray. The light of the twins used to be my beacon, but you're blocking it out. This is wrong. I've prayed to the twins again and again to set me free from this emotion. I've tried so hard to purge the thoughts of you from my mind, tried to see you as a test they've sent me, but I can't. You are my sin, my torture, my love. I cannot hide from this. Show me the way, please. You're the only one who can do this, and no one else. Jen's hazel eyes are full of tears. The branches of the Silver Tree glow softly above you. She's right. There's no hiding from love. You can't resist it. Should you even try? This is a place of honesty. And this love, it fills you both. It asks no question, and it guides you towards one another with great certainty. You take a step closer to Jen. Your heart is beating so fast, it feels though your ribs are about to break. Then, awkward, uncertain, but utterly sincere, a kiss. Literally sitting in a tree. For one moment, Jen is paralysed in your arms. Then she responds with passion, with all the love she has professed. This feeling, this emotion, so sincere, so strong. It's a gift from the twins. This touch feels so unfamiliar to you, so frightening to her. Your bodies have never known it before, bound and shackled by years of taboo. But right now, you're both guided by something more than attraction and lust. This is love, profound and absolute, that which only they may give. With a sense of awe, you remove the veil from her head. Her hair. It's been so long, you forgot what colour it was. It's blonde, and it shines like a halo in the silver tree's glow. Jen moves away from you. Her fingers caress your neck. You cover her palms and wrists with kisses, and undo the buttons and belt on her clothing. The fallen leaves are soft, like the softest bed as you lay down. Should we be doing this in public? This feels like a good way to get caught. And arrested, because, you know, we're having sex in public. You cross the line you must not cross, but the power of divine love is irresistible. There are no more secrets between you. You close your eyes. Sight is only a distraction now. You find her lips blindly. You share in her passion, relish her tenderness, and put her fears to rest. And she responds to you in kind, in perfect unison. All is just as it should be. Warmth spreads through your bodies like a roaring fireplace on a rainy autumn day, like a long conversation with those you hold most dear. Honesty and awe, you have never felt so alive. This is more than mere intimacy. So much more. It's stronger than both of you. Time has been shattered. Minutes pass, hours, or perhaps just seconds. Together, you seem to share a furtive glance at an entire life you never lived. You lie down by her side, out of breath. Jen nestles closer to you. Her fingers trace the contours of your chest as you stroke her hair. When the sunrise finds you, it catches you by surprise. Jen's body is illuminated by the sun. She blushes and turns away. You fumble for your clothes, averting your gaze and trying in vain to hide your physical and spiritual nudity. You don't look at each other until your bodies are clothed again. We can't deny this. We can't pretend it didn't happen. But what do we do now? It was an illusion. It was just a dream. I mean, yeah, these feelings are real. And we should accept the love we share. Plus, you know, I want the willpower. And also I love you. And I got a forbidden fruit achievement, so wins all round. What happened between you is love. The love. Their love. You cannot deny this fact. You cannot reject the truth. For your bodies, love and passion are forbidden. This is the law. But no one ever said that priests cannot love one another in spirit. You will be together, for this is your soul's desire. No one will ever learn of what happened last night. It is between you, Jen, and the silver tree. Jen smiles in return. An open smile, honest smile. A smile without fear. Yes, you're right. True love does not need the union of flesh. We'll be together without it. You are dear to me. I need you. And I'm so happy you feel the same way. You emerge onto the morning streets of Anazot and walk away from the silver tree's branches. You're smiling. A smile of joy glows on Jen's face. You are loved. You are happy. For such is the will of the twins and your own soul. Okay. Despite all doubts, me and Jen became closer. Interesting. So the last straw is still a thing that's happening in the background. Curious. Okay, I'm going to have to end this one here because I know I said in the last one I wanted to try and do all of this in one video, but time constraints. My recording time has run on a bit longer than I was expecting. But I think what I'm going to do from now on is kind of record in blocks of about this length each time. So I'll try and get some, because it's annoying me how inconsistent the video times are. So hopefully doing this will be okay. We'll see. Some of them might be shorter, some of them might be longer. But either way, I'm stopping this one here. Everything's looking good for the Cassius Faces the Tribunal Destiny, which is the one I want. All I need to do is get the evidence against Cassius and not let the Inquisition power dip or rise too much. So it's looking promising, but hopefully we will find out next time and we'll be able to get this all finished off in the next episode. And then we can do the new faith. This is tough having to... Because there's decisions I want to make that I would like to make, and there's decisions that are based purely on the kind of the narrative I'm weaving and going for the stats. Trying to differentiate between them at the moment is tough, because obviously this is not a playthrough I would have done, so that's peculiar. But I am still, despite the fact I've made some nasty decisions, I am enjoying this a lot, and it's really interesting to see a whole different side of the coin, and we'll see how it finishes off next time, hopefully. So, if you want to check this out for yourself, then the link to the game page is in the description. If you have any thoughts on what you would like to see in future playthroughs of this, then leave me a comment, let me know. Thank you very much for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, then why don't you go ahead and hit the like button, the forbidden love that is the subscribe button. Make sure you a bad boy. And until next time, love you, bye.